Now, this is case number 46 on the calendar in the matter of Perkins versus Spratling. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Ms. Perkins, thank you, Bert. According to your complaint, you and the defendant have known each other a very long time. You lived together for a period of time. And while you were living together, you made a loan to him in the amount of $400 to fix his truck. And then you claimed that you purchased a dinette set for the apartment. When you left, or when he put you out of the house, he kept the dinette set. So you want the money that you spent on the dinette set and the $400 loan for his truck. The defendant says there were never any loans. He paid all the bills. Whatever you bought into the house, you bought really to, take care of your end of the bills. And in addition, when you left, you destroyed certain things in the house, and you really damaged his property, doors, threw around his clothes and whatever. So we'll get to your counterclaim in a minute. When did you move in together, Ms. Perkins?
In September.
How long had you known him before that?
About 5.5 years.
And were you planning a long-term relationship with him?
Yes.
What was the financial arrangement when you moved in?
Well, he paid all the bills there. I got most of the groceries, and I paid my car note and insurance and my other bills, because we were both using my vehicle at the same time.
You were using your car?
He had my car most of the time because I was at work. I was working 2 jobs, and he had my car throughout the whole day.
What was he doing with your car?
I would get dropped off at work at 8:30, and he would come pick me up from work at 5.
So he was working during the day?
Right. Until, well, he went to work at 12.
So now tell me about this $400 loan.
Well, in November, he asked me, could he borrow $400 to get his car fixed? And I said, okay.
So he had a car?
But it was never working. He needed the money to get it fixed, so I let him borrow the money.
Fine. Can I borrow $400? Is that what he said to you?
Yeah, so I let him borrow. He came to the job.
Can I borrow $400?
Yes.
And when did he get the money?
In November. November 28th.
Did you make any arrangement with him with regard to paying back the money?
No set date. He said he was going to give it back. And I asked him plenty of times, can I get the money back? And he would say, okay. And we came across a couple of situations agreements that we might come by.
Miss Perkins, listen to me carefully. I don't want you to make things up as you go along.
I'm not.
Good. Okay, you gave him the $400. You continued to live together.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, he got the money the day that he got the money, November 28th. That's when everything went down. That's when everything happened.
Is November 28th the day that you separated?
Yes.
When was the last time you lived in the house with him? November 28th?
Actually, it was November 27th. The night of November 27th, which turned into November 28th. That's when everything happened, because he had went to the hospital because he had got the young lady pregnant when we were together.
And she was going to have her baby, according to you,
that night.
Day. Okay. What about this dinette set? When did you buy the dinette set?
In October. I gave him the money to go pick up. The dinette set was they was purchased separately. The chairs was purchased at one place, and the table was purchased at the other.
All right, so how much is it, $400?
No, the whole dinette set was $650.
Okay, Mr. Spratling.
Yes, I said I don't owe Erica.
I don't care what you say. Did you take $400 from her on the 27th or 28th of November?
Erica did give me $400.
Did you take $400 from her on either the 27th or the 28th?
Yes, I did.
And when did you put her out of the house?
That same night. That same night,
And what did you do with the $400?
I used that $400 to get my car fixed.
That's pretty coincidental.
Right. If I may, on the 28th or whatnot, I called Erica, let her know that my car was down, and I had needed some money to go ahead and get my car fixed. Erica, being my woman at that time, went ahead and gave me the money. I never went ahead and asked Erica. I never went ahead and told Erica, let me borrow any money. Erica went ahead and gave me that money or whatnot to get my car fixed. I never once did I say, let me borrow the money, or can you loan me this money? By us staying together, whatnot, I went ahead and just, okay, took it as if, well, we're together, whatnot. I didn't ask you for a loan or whatever. I asked you if, I told you my car was down, you went ahead and just gave me the money. I never told you, well, Erica.
I heard that already. Move on. That night you put her out of the house, correct?
Correct.
Want to tell me how that came about, sir?
My daughter was being born or whatnot. I went ahead and called Erica, letting her know the situation. And Erica told me that if I stayed overnight at the hospital or whatnot, that she was going to, ruin my apartment or whatnot, because me and her she was getting upset or whatnot.
No, I told you.
So then called and asked my younger brother and my cousin Nisha here if they can go ahead to my apartment, make sure that Erica doesn't, leave and ruin my apartment at the same time. And that's when Erica and my cousin then got into an altercation and whatnot.
Well, Erica got a little crazy and started to throw around your stuff. Isn't that right, Erica?
In my bedroom.
I don't care what bedroom it was. You started throwing around his stuff. Is that right?
Yes.
You were pretty angry.
I was very upset.
Oh, okay. So you want to tell me what you think she owes you?
$2,400.
For what?
We got harassment, damaged property, harassment.
What's the damaged property? Forget harassment. You ought to be harassed. What's next? You ought to be harassed. She wouldn't do it, I'll do it.
All right.
Tell me about the damaged property, sir.
Well, Erica went ahead and like the day she came over, on the 28th, she came in and kicked in my door.
Show me the bill. Did you kick in his door?
I didn't kick in the door. I had keys to the door. I had no reason to kick in it. My sister kicked in the door.
Was she with you?
Oh, yes, she was with me.
Good, so you're responsible. Cost him $100 for new locks. What else?
Then, that right there is for, can I see this, please? That there is for assault or whatnot. This is
for what?
Assault. Erica also came over to my house again after we had already broken up or whatever, banging on my door or whatnot, almost getting me evicted from my apartment or whatever. She then kicked the door, breaking my molding and whatnot.
All right.
This here's the police report for that.
I don't care about the police report. Where's the bill?
I don't have a bill for that.
So how am I supposed to figure out how much that cost? What'd you kick in his door for,
I've
Erica?
never kicked in the door. I've never kicked the door at all.
All right.
I've never did it.
Well, since he doesn't have a bill, I can't help you anyway. But you certainly are responsible for new locks that he had to put on because your sister kicked in the door. Because your sister was
I
angry.
told her
She
to
came
stop
over with you.
kicking it in because I had the keys to the door. So it was
She's
no
your
reason.
responsibility, my dear.
I don't tell her what to do.
Fine. Then you know what you should do? Sue her for the $100 because it's coming off your claim. Do you understand that?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Now, what else?
A broken chain. The day Erica came in, the second time she came in and assaulted me or whatever, she broke my chain.
That was my chain.
Shh, shh. No, it wasn't. You gave it to him.
No, I've never given him that chain.
Oh,
He
really?
wore it throughout the relationship. I've never said, here, you could have this chain.
Oh, stop
I let
it.
him wear it.
Stop it. How many years has he worn it?
A year.
That's a long time.
I mean,
now it's
even
become his.
we
Adverse
have been-
possession. Listen, now it's his. So she broke the chain?
Yes, Your Honor.
My chain.
Oh, put it back in your pocket. What other damage? Let's hear. Let's hear. You want to give me any other nonsense? I really have a very busy day.
Oh, that's basically all.
Good, fine.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You were dumb enough to buy it, paid
Why
to
would I
have
have
it
to
moved.
pay for it? I mean, I'm not
Listen, you want him
understanding.
to keep the dinette set?
No, I want the dinette.
Then get it.
And later today,
Why don't you have a job? What do you
I was
do?
going to school. I was getting ready to go to school.
Going to school and getting ready to go to school are
I had-
entirely different things.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Erica Perkins says ex-boyfriend Carl Spratling owes for a loan and for the return of a dinette set. Carl says Erica gave him the money so he could fix his car.
All right, where's the dinette set?
It's at my apartment.
Good, you're going to give it back to her. And we're going to pack it up and we're going to give it back to her. And you're going to give it back to her in very, very good condition. Do you understand?
Yes, I do. I have a question.
Well, I'm not usually here to answer questions, but in your case, I'll make an exception. What's
Okay,
your question?
Well, basically, my question is, why am I giving her a dining room set, which I told Erica not to purchase and whatnot, due to our relationship. We were already on shaky terms. I asked Erica not to purchase this dining room set.
Yes?
I said, Erica, don't buy this dining room set because...
And she
You
didn't
never
listen.
told me that.
Erica,
Okay.
shut up. So what's your question? You told her not to buy it.
I told her not to buy it or whatnot.
You told her not to buy it.
Correct.
And she bought it anyway.
Correct.
So what's your question?
So I'm wondering, like, I told her not to buy it. She purchased it anyway. She told me, I was like, well, Erica, I don't want you buying this dinette set due to the fact that if me and you were to break up, that, you know, you're going to want to take it with you. I quote, Erica sat there and told me that if me and her was to break up, I can have the dinette set. She was just going to leave with her
No,
items.
that not.
I want you to be quiet if I need you. So what's your question?
Why am I
Why-
returning it when she told me I
You're-
can have it?
Why are you returning it?
Correct.
I'm going to give you the answer. Because I said so. That's the answer.
Right.
For the same reason that you're going to give her back the $400, which now becomes $300 because I'm taking $100 off for the locks her sister broke. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff following $300 in cash, plus the dinette set is to be packed up. 5 days from today, you arrange for it to be moved to wherever you want it moved. Do you understand?
So I would have to pay for the expenses to it for me so that it could be removed.
You have to pay to have it moved. Yes, you were dumb enough to buy it, pay to
Why
have
would I
it
have
moved.
to pay for it though? to be moved. I understand, but I don't. I mean, I'm not.
Listen, you want him to keep the dinette set?
No, I want the dinette set.
Then get it! Do you understand?
Yes.
Perfect. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
If she wanted, she can have it. I'll buy my own.
I mean, he did get a young lady pregnant when we worked together.
He told her not to buy it, and she wanted to buy it anyway. It was her stupid decision.
Yeah, this is case number 472 on the calendar in the matter of Willis versus Thorpe. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Bird, you are going to love this case. Because I read the complaint and the answer, and I found the facts as presented by you two young ladies to be fascinating. How are you related to her?
I'm her mother.
Why don't you have a seat for a minute, please? How old are you?
17.
Your mother's close enough, right? Mm-hmm. You don't feel threatened by me in any way, do you?
No, ma'am.
That's a big mistake. How old are you?
I'm 18.
And this is your?
Mother.
According to your complaint, Miss Willis, the defendant is a friend of yours.
An ex-friend, yes.
Well, she was a very good friend of yours. And somehow she gave you a couple of checks that she asked you to cash for her.
Right.
You went into the bank, you cashed the checks for her. According to you, you gave her the money with the exception of $50
Right,
that she had owed you from previously. And then you were notified that these were stolen checks by your bank, and your account was charged for the money, and you want her to pay you back.
I do.
Now, I couldn't quite get everything that you were saying, Miss Thorpe, but according to you, you had stolen the checks, but she stole them from you. 2 checks. And you have no idea what she did with those checks. Is that right?
That's right.
So why don't we start with a story like once upon a time. Once upon a time, I was driving in the car with my friend.
Well, no.
Then just tell me.
Okay.
Let's go. Once upon a time.
Okay, once upon a time, last May 23rd, we're at our graduation practice. She asked me if I could cash a couple checks for her, saying she did not have her ID, and I asked her if she had a bank account she could cash them out. She said she didn't. So, you know, she's a friend of mine. I did it.
When did she give you the checks?
When we were at the bank.
How did you get to the bank?
I drove.
And how did she get to the bank?
She drove.
So you park your car at the bank. We're going to follow this. You know, we're once upon a time now. We're once upon a time. You've gone from graduation into the car. She follows you to your bank. You park your car. She parks her car. And you walked up to her car.
I walked up to her car to get the checks. I sat down in her car. Then I went inside and...
So she handed you the 2 checks.
Right.
What did they say?
I didn't pay a lot of attention to what the checks looked like, to be quite honest. I did ask her where they're from, what they were for. She told me that they were back child support from her boyfriend's ex-wife.
At any time previous to going to the bank, did you discuss with her how much the checks were for?
I think I asked her when we got there. They're for $47 each, and I looked.
When you looked at the checks, was that the first time you saw what the amount was?
I don't remember whether I asked her at the graduation practice how much they were.
Well, you're not a stupid person, are you?
No, I'm not stupid. I honestly just
You're not
don't
a stupid
remember.
person because you have a bank account. How much money did you have in your bank account?
At the time, I had $603, and
So if somebody had asked you to cash checks for them in the amount of $2,000, you couldn't have done that, right?
Right, right.
So you had to have asked, well, how much are the checks for?
I don't remember. I was very naive. I didn't, at that point, I did not
look
know that you had
naive.
to have that much amount in your bank.
Did you
to
hear what
cash
I
them.
said? You
Yeah.
don't look naive.
I don't look now, but I've learned a lot since then. I have.
You mean in the few short months you've learned a whole bunch?
Just about this, about cashing checks, about banks.
Where did you get your money from to put in the bank?
From my job.
What kind of job?
I worked at an ice cream parlor.
So you knew enough to open up a bank account? Did you open it up by yourself or with your
my
mother?
dad, I've had it since I was 13 years old.
Great,
My
so you
dad
know how
got
to
it
go
for me.
in there?
Right.
So you know how to make deposits? Did you ever withdraw any money from the bank?
I did. Yeah.
Make out a withdrawal slip.
Well, no.
You don't live on Mars.
I didn't. I never used a withdrawal slip at my bank. It was a savings account. All I did was give them my social security number, ask for the amount, and I had to sign.
So what were these 2 checks made out for?
$447.50 each. And the reason I believed her about the child support is prior to this, a month before, she told me she was expecting a check for about $500, and she told me that is what she was going to pay me my $50 back for.
You have a
This was
child?
the beginning of May.
No, I don't, Your Honor.
Well, what are these 447?
I have
and
copies of
shh.
this. I'm sorry.
What is this 447 child support? What is that about?
Your Honor, I have no idea.
No idea. You have a boyfriend who gets child support?
I do have a boyfriend, yes.
Does he get child support?
Yes, he does.
Why does he get child support?
Because him and his wife were separated.
How old is he?
32.
And he has a child that he has custody of?
Yes.
And how old are you?
17.
Who is this?
This is
I'm
my
the boyfriend.
You're the boyfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
How long has this been your girlfriend?
Just over a year.
Just over a year. You don't think she's a little young for you, do you?
I didn't plan it that way, Your Honor.
How much do you get in child support from your ex-wife?
About $50 a week. I have custody of both of my children.
$50 a week for each child?
No, ma'am.
Both?
Yes,
For both children? You get that by the month?
I get weekly. I get it weekly if she put
Let me see a copy of the checks.
And it's usually in cash.
Your Honor, Eric was the person that the checks were stolen from. I was convicted and charged for checks
No,
already.
you were charged and convicted.
Charged and convicted for 3 checks prior. I had stole them. I went down to the police station.
Where did you steal them from?
I stole them from Eric,
Who is he?
an old friend
Of whose?
of mine and my mother's.
How did you get his checks?
I went over there one day and I found them laying outside next to his truck, like they had fallen out of his truck, and I picked them up.
Why?
Stupidity.
And what'd you do after you picked them up?
I had gone and cashed a few checks, and
How many did you cash?
I was charged with 3 of them.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Tiffany, that's her, you know, with the belly button showing, advised that Stephanie wanted $50 to cash them, and she was given that amount.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Stephanie Willis says former friend Tiffany Thorpe owes for 2 checks she cashed on her behalf. Stephanie says the checks turned out to be stolen.
You walked into the bank, Miss Willis,
Right.
and you see these checks that are made out for $447.50.
Right.
They're not made out to anybody.
No, they were not made out to anybody. At the time, I was having a conversation with the teller at my bank. I was in a hurry to get somewhere, but I asked him. I got up, going out to ask Tiffany to sign them and ask why they were not made out to anybody. I turned around at that point and asked him if it would be all right if I did it myself, or
Why?
if it would matter, because I was in a hurry to get to see someone.
You
that
know, I don't
see
believe you
often.
either.
Huh?
I don't believe you either. I don't believe her. I don't believe you.
Okay.
Miss Willis, you want to know why it doesn't sound right to me?
Yes, I do.
She says, could you cash these checks for me? They're being given to my boyfriend from his ex-wife for child support. Then they would have been made out to him. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure that out. Especially if you tell me that his name, Eric, is written on the bottom of the check. Did you write his name too?
No, I did not. Tiffany
So that
did.
was there.
Right.
Who wrote that?
Tiffany did.
Did you see that?
I did not, but I know her handwriting. I've known her for 4.5 years. And
So
I
you
her
know that this
handwriting.
is her handwriting?
Yes.
So now
Specifically,
you know the following.
look at the dotted
Now
I.
you know the following. You know that she forged his name,
Right.
and you knew that when you were at the bank.
No.
Oh, yeah, you
No.
knew of
Not
4
at
years
the
at
bank.
that point.
I'm sorry. Not at the bank. I was not aware of that. At
Why
the
not?
bank, I assumed I did not know the circumstances following the checks, and I assumed that she had gotten it from a friend of hers or perhaps her lover. I did not ask, and I was not sure. But at this point, I knew Tiffany, and we were very good friends for 4.5 years. I had no reason not to believe her.
I'll hear you.
Well, on that day, we did go for my graduation practice, and we were sitting there, and Stephanie was sitting in the car, and I had the checkbook sitting there in the council, and she had asked me what it was, and I had told her that they were stolen checks. And then we went to the gas station.
When you say she asked you what they were and you said they were stolen checks, are you telling me that she didn't say, where did you steal them from? Whose are they? Nothing.
No, Your Honor.
She asked you nothing.
No. She just asked me what they were.
And you said stolen checks.
Yes, I told her.
Go
They were
ahead.
Stolen checks. We went to the gas station about 2 blocks away so I can get gas. And then I went inside to pay. When I came back out, she told me that she needed to be dropped back off at her car. So I dropped her back off at the car and I went home. And about a week later, she came knocking on my boyfriend's door and was talking to him about some sort of checks.
Step up.
Well, Your Honor,
Name.
My name is Timothy S. Brown.
Tell me about the conversation that you had with the plaintiff.
May of 2000, Stephanie had stopped out of my house on 3 different occasions. On the first occasion, she came in my home and told me that she had gotten some checks from Tiffany that were stolen. This is the time I just found out about the whole stolen check situation. We were only dating for a couple months at the time. She told me that she had gotten some checks from Tiffany and positive in her account, and that she said that Tiffany said they were for child support. I knew at that time that something was wrong because I get cash from my ex-wife.
Did you tell her that?
Yes, I did.
And what was her reaction?
All she said that she got the checks from Tiffany, and that Tiffany said they were for child support. And
was she crying?
No, she was upset.
Was she upset?
She was kind of scared because she told me that her mother, her parents were involved in the bank account somehow, and she wanted to get it taken care of before her parents found out about it.
So that was the first time she came
Right.
to your house, and then?
I talked to Tiffany about it. At this time, Tiffany was denying the whole thing to me because she didn't want me to find out about it.
So Tiffany lied?
She lied to me about it, yeah.
And then she lied to her mother, too?
At the time, yes.
She lied.
You know.
Now, when she lied, did you believe her?
No, I was really skeptical about the whole thing, you know, from the start.
So initially, when she told you that she didn't know what this friend was talking
Right.
about.
I had my suspicions. I had contacted her mother to talk about the situation, to find out if she knew anything about it.
And her mother said?
No, she didn't, and, you know, reassured me that her daughter wouldn't do anything like that.
Okay. Step up a second, sure. When your daughter told you what happened, she initially told you she didn't know what she was talking about. Is that right?
Well, when Stephanie came to me, and Stephanie told me a story that Tiffany gave her 2 checks and that they were for babysitting that Tiffany had done for somebody, and that she cashed those checks for Tiffany. But she didn't say anything about child support to me. She said that it was babysitting money. That's what Tiffany had told her.
Is that right?
So,
I don't remember telling her that.
Your Honor, we have in a police report statement here, it's the statement that Tiffany had made to the police.
Let me say it. You told the police that you gave her 2 checks, madam. You told the police that you gave her 2 checks to cash.
No, Your Honor, I did not.
Your name is Tiffany, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Tiffany advised that she had given 2 checks to a Stephanie Willis for her to cash. You mean the police made a mistake?
When I went and confessed to the police officers that I had taken the checks from Eric, they had asked me that Stephanie's checks were not in the bunch, because the checks had never cleared his bank.
I'm asking you a question. The police wrote this down. Tiffany advised that she had given 2 checks to Stephanie Willis for her to cash. Is what you're telling me that the police either mistakenly wrote this down or that you lied to the police?
I told the police officers that I had not given Stephanie any checks
So
to
that,
cash.
according to you, the police officers wrote it down wrong. Put your hand down. The police officers wrote it down wrong.
Obviously, yes, Your Honor.
Listen to this, Bert. You have to listen to this. This officer who took this report from this 17-year-old psychopath must have been doing something that day to make himself feel happy, because he too is writing a once-upon-a-time story, according to her. Let me tell you what else he wrote. Reporting officer asked Tiffany about the 2 checks that she gave to Stephanie Willis. Tiffany advised that the 2 checks were for $447.50 each. Tiffany, that's her, you know, with the belly button showing. Tiffany advised that she filled out the checks but left the pay to blank. Tiffany advised that she had Stephanie put her name in the blank. Tiffany advised that Stephanie cashed the checks and gave her the money. Tiffany, Miss Exposed Belly Button, advised that Stephanie wanted $50 to cash them, and she was given that amount.
But the $50, which...
Shut!
Okay.
Is she getting therapy? Is she in therapy and counseling?
after all this happened, I had 3 counselors involved, as a matter of fact.
Does she live at home with you?
Yes, she does now.
And what about him?
Well, actually, let me tell you the whole story.
Dying to hear this story. I thought this was easy.
Actually, I was very much against this relationship because of
That's
the
a very
great
good
age
thing.
difference. And at one point, I even got the authorities involved. I called social services, got a counselor involved, and I tried everything in my power to keep them apart. The only thing that accomplished is put a wedge between my daughter and my relationship. So I decided the worst thing that I could have done was to try to interfere with that relationship. And so I choose not to any longer interfere with it at all.
Okay. Now, but she's living at home?
Yes.
What about him?
He is staying there temporarily
At
with
your
his
house?
2 children, yes, actually.
You know, there's one thing about not interfering, and there's another thing, and, you know, she's 17 years old.
Right.
I don't believe her mother is responsible for this $950.
Correct.
And since she's 17 years old, I cannot find her liable. Do you understand that?
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand? The only way that I can find her liable is if I make her mother responsible. She is, I believe you. I believe that you got suckered in by her. And I believe that she is a liar. I believe that she continues to lie. I believe that she's probably in a relationship that she shouldn't be in. I believe that her mother is caught between a rock and a hard place. But I think that her mother being caught in a rock and a hard place does not put her mother in a position where she is responsible for the forgery and the theft by her daughter to you. Because I, too, believe that you have had a certain responsibility, and that was to be a little more vigilant. Not put your name on these checks when it was clear that they couldn't have been for child support. Because child support checks would have been made out to him for the 2 children, not
I had
blank.
no experience with that.
Not
the story
blank.
she gave me, I had no reason.
Well, you
not
should
to
have been more
trust her.
vigilant.
I
Certainly,
should
her
have.
mother couldn't.
I should
Certainly,
have.
her mother could not have known.
Right.
And in order for me to find in your favor against this side of the table, I have to rule that her mother is responsible for paying you back, and I cannot, in good conscience, do that.
Neither could I.
I can't hold her responsible. She's 17. I mean, I wish I could, but I can't. So you're going to have to cover these checks yourself and be a little more vigilant. I feel sorry for you. I really do. I really don't know what I would do in your situation.
It's a difficult situation. I didn't know what else to do either. And I just hope that they will straighten out the problems that they've had in the past.
These 2 girls aren't going to straighten out their
Right.
problems. As far as these 2 people are concerned, 3 years from now, they won't be talking about each other because he won't be around.
That's what I
But
figured.
she'll be probably around with her own baby that you're going to have to take care of.
Well, hopefully
That won't happen.
Hopefully. Well,
And-
why?
Because I wouldn't leave her like that.
You
I'm
wouldn't.
a good father.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell me that you took care of it so that you couldn't have any more
I'm a-
children.
I'm
It
a-
was enough.
I'm a good father.
Goodbye.
And now the next case.
All parties in B. Miller versus Stewart. Step forward, please.
Linda and William B. Miller are suing their former friend, social worker Peggy Stewart, for an unpaid loan. Peggy claims she never borrowed any money.
Mr. and Mrs. Beamler, it is your claim that you made 2 loans to the defendant, totaling in excess of $10,000. These loans were made some 2 years ago. One was a cash loan, well, not a cash loan, but a money loan in the amount of $6,000. And then, according to you, you paid 2 mortgage payments for her in excess of $5,000. Understanding the jurisdictional limitations of this court, you are suing for the maximum here, $5,000. Ms. Stewart says that there was never a loan, that while she did give you some money recently, small amounts, it was not to repay this loan, it was because you fell on some hard times and she was being generous. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So I want you to tell me when you made the $6,000 loan to her and show me proof by way of a check, a money order made out to her for $6,000.
There's a check payment on 10/24/2000 in the amount of $500.
I'm talking about $6,000.
They were 2 separate.
They're all separate checks, Your Honor.
Let me see.
This goes up.
Totaling $6,000.
Yes.
Over what period of time?
2.
A
3
month?
months.
3 months. You endorsed these checks.
Yes, ma'am.
Those were rate break checks from off of a credit card.
You got what I'm saying to you folks? I want to see proof that you gave her a check that she cashed or a check made out to her. I see checks made out to cash that at some point somebody wrote loan Peggy Stewart in the corner.
Those were on there.
Yes, yes, ma'am. She was given cash. in the amount of $6,000. And I can explain why they are the way they are.
You can explain all you like, but if she says you never gave her this money, you don't get it back.
Okay,
Yes.
Good.
Your Honor.
Explain it.
She needed cash monies. I went to the bank. Peggy went with me. We went to the counter together. I made them out to cash. I made them out to myself. I endorsed them. I deposited them. I withdrew cash and I handed it to Peggy.
Did you take the cash?
No, I did not, Your Honor.
That is not true, Your Honor.
What was the amount of the 2 mortgage payments?
$24.99. I'm not
Each
sure.
one?
I'm not sure exactly of the amount. They offered to make those payments in exchange for staying in my guest house at the time. We were living communally.
That's a
at
lie,
the
Your
time.
Honor.
That's a
No,
lie,
it's
Your
not.
Honor. And we
They
have
stayed in my guest house because she stated that she was afraid of being alone. They used my utilities. They cooked in my kitchen. They used my food. They wanted to stay with us in our guest
Your
house.
Honor, that's not true.
Just a second. Just a second. That's baloney.
It's not true, Your Honor.
He said that. He said it's baloney.
Quiet! Now, they made almost $6,000 worth of mortgage payments for you. Did you pay them back?
No, Your Honor.
Why not?
Because I didn't feel I owed it.
Why
She
not?
asked to pay for expenses. She induced me to accept her to pay these things. She didn't want me to go back to work. She wanted a companion at the time.
Are you serious with me?
Yes. I have documentation showing that she has a social phobia or an anxiety disorder. She
Well,
wanted
she may
to-
have a social phobia and anxiety disorder, madam, but that doesn't mean she's fiscally stupid.
Well,
I mean, she can't prove this loan to me.
yes.
But if they made 2 mortgage payments for you totaling $59.02, and unless you can convince me that that was in lieu of rent or something else because they were staying in your guest house for a couple of months, then you owe them $59.02. Now, I would assume that you initially were going to take this case to a superior court, suing for the entire amount, which you claim is $11,000. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what happened with that lawsuit.
Can I speak?
Yeah.
We dismissed it because we were incurring too much monies continuously because it kept being continued. And it was kind of like,
We were
you know,
told
wasting.
that we were spending good money chasing bad, that although we had,
How much money did you spend on that lawsuit?
To this date, $3,500.
that is not including the $3,500 that we owe.
So you spent $7,000 to collect 11. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
We never
Yes.
collected anything.
No, to collect it.
Yes, ma'am.
Pay attention.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Stewart, I assume that you were at some point friends. I read that you were co-workers. Is that right?
Yes, we were. We were co-workers.
And you both had sexual harassment claims
She
against your
lied.
employer.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes, she lied, and she was very angry that I refused to testify on her behalf and perjure myself that she was raped by a coworker whom she worked with and had a consensual relationship.
Listen to me.
Yes.
I would like you to just answer my questions.
Yes, Your Honor.
And how much did you get from this settlement?
I was told I couldn't disclose.
You have a non-disclosure in
Yes,
the...
I do, Your Honor. It was substantially more than...
I mean, it's in your answer. So I don't know who told you you couldn't disclose it. You disclosed it in your answer.
Oh, well,
It was a 6-figure number.
yes, Your Honor.
Yeah. Okay. You owe them $5,000. My maximum jurisdiction is $5,000. You actually owe them $59.02 for the 2 mortgage payments that they made for you, and that's discounting the $6,000 loan, which they have no proof of. All I can tell you is, folks, if you do make a loan to somebody, don't be a jerk.
Right.
You know, you're supposed to get it in writing. You say, listen, I'd love to give you the money without a writing. Judge Judy Sheindlin says it's foolhardy, even if you're dealing with relatives, to give them money without a writing. That way everybody knows what the parameters are. Do you understand? You especially don't put yourself in a situation where you have checks written out to cash that you cash and want to 2 or 3 years later claim that this was a loan. Do you understand? Fortunately, if you made her mortgage payments and the mortgage checks were made out to her mortgage company, you don't have the same mortgage company, do you?
No.
Okay, that's all. Judge for the...
This is case number 428 on the calendar in the matter of Beaster versus Barber. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have seats.
Mr. Beaster, it is your claim that the defendant assaulted you by kicking you repeatedly around the head and body. The defendant says she was merely trying... She acknowledges that she did kick you, but she says she was trying to protect her boyfriend from you. So you tell me about this incident. When did it happen?
Happened on August 22nd on a Thursday night.
Where were you?
I was in my apartment with my wife and our 18-month-old little girl.
Okay.
What happened was we were trying to sleep, and we heard a lot of noise. We didn't know where, it was outside somewhere. So I had my wife, I said, just go up, get up out of bed and see what's going on.
That's your first problem. Why did you send your wife out to find out what the problem was?
Because my daughter, she likes to be with me, when we go to bed, and she only wants her dad, and she was holding on to me.
Your 18-month-old daughter was sleeping in the bed with the two of you? Before we get to the rest of this case, let me give you some advice. That's a big mistake. Big time. You go to sleep, baby goes to sleep, baby's crib, baby's bed, baby's whatever. 18-month-old baby doesn't sleep with you. It's very cute, it's very sweet. When they're 9 and 10, it's not so cute anymore. Do you understand?
You got that right.
What? Right?
You got that right.
Right. And then they, in the middle of the night, you find you got an 8-year-old, you got a 7-year-old, you got a 5-year-old, they're all trying to clamor in your bed. So what used to be cute when you had one isn't so cute anymore when you got 3 of them, and you end up sleeping on the floor because, or your wife would end up sleeping on the floor under your scenario. Just a word of friendly advice. Okay, so next time this ever happens, you're not going to send your wife to the window so that you don't disturb your 18-month-old daughter. You're going to get up and go to the window, right?
That's correct.
I love it. Okay, so you send your wife out and she looks at the window. Step up, please. Okay, next time you give him a good boot in the back with your foot and you say, you get up and go see what's making all the noise. Anyway, you got up and you looked outside. What did you see?
Well, I saw a bunch of 19, 20-year-olds, I'm not sure how old they were, playing around outside on the swing set. It was a playground. They were sliding on the
How far away is
slide.
the swing set from the playground from where you live?
About 10 feet away.
What floor are you on?
We're on the 2nd floor.
So there are a group of people fooling around outside.
Yes.
Talking loudly.
Screaming.
Screaming? What were they screaming?
I have no idea what they're screaming about.
Okay. And then what happened?
We all went to the window. This is in one of our other bedrooms, and they were just making a lot of noise, screaming. They're in a tree. I don't know what they're doing
They were
in a tree.
in a tree?
They were in a tree, all of them. And I proceeded to say, be quiet or I'm calling the police, because it was very
Or
loud.
did you say be quiet, say shut up or I'm calling the police?
I did say be quiet, I'm calling the police, but that's what I did say. I did not swear, I did not say anything.
Okay.
Then I heard the gentleman over here yell back, go ahead and call the police, F you.
You mean this gentleman that looks like butter would melt in his mouth? Over here, right?
Mm-hmm.
This one? Okay, go ahead.
And then I told my wife, go ahead and call the police, and I did proceed to go outside.
Well, that was your second mistake, right?
Yeah, I agree. I should not have done that. And
Right. That was your second mistake. What happened when you went outside?
the gentleman there, jumped out of the tree, and he ran up to me. And he pretty much said, what are you doing out here? Oh, just because you're bigger? Go ahead and hit me. I will sue you. And then she got involved, the defendant, and she started swearing and cussing at me.
Do you have a police report?
I sure do.
I'd like to see the police report, please. Okay, swearing, cussing. What happened next?
And then the defendant here proceeded to put her hand on my chest, swore at me, and said, F you, get back in your apartment. And I swiped her hand. She put it right here. I swiped her hand away, and I said, don't you ever touch me again. He got upset, and
Because you had swiped her hand away, whatever.
Yes. But she had her hand. She put her hand on me. And
I understand that.
Okay. She then proceeded to scream. She got right in my face, about this far apart, and she was yelling and screaming at me again.
How many
swearing.
people were out there at that time? You?
Well, what happened is four
two
people.
of them.
The two of them. The other two took off. Nobody else was out there. When I first came out there, the other two took off. So, and then what happened is then she put her hand in front of my face, and I did swipe her hand away, and that's when he came to me, and he pushed me. And then from there, Your Honor, I defended myself.
So what'd you do?
We started to like grapple, and then he pretty much said, "Oh, you're a big guy, and you can't put me down." So I knew the
Wait,
police.
you got him down. You got him down on the ground.
Yes. Then I put him on the ground. He ripped my shirt. Then I ripped his shirt. And when I had him on the ground, I did not have him in a chokehold. I didn't throw any punches. No punches were thrown. She proceeded to go ahead and start kicking me in the head.
Okay. Tell me what injuries you suffered when she kicked you in the head.
At the immediate time, I did not know what injuries I suffered, but I know after the second kick that I had blood coming out of my nose, and it was splattering even after the last couple of times. And I do have pictures here.
Can I see it, please?
Yes. And this is the viewpoint from our apartment. I wiped off some of the blood too, Your Honor, so it's not all there.
You have any other reports from the police, statements? Do you?
Oh, I don't.
I'd like to see them, please.
Well, I do got our own statements from everybody that had statements involved. My wife
I have
and them.
that.
I'd like to see
I
all
also
the
have the
statements.
police report that the police wrote out.
I'd like to see it. Around in a tree.
Right. We did go outside.
I have this.
Oh.
I have this. I don't need this. I'm talking about other statements.
Oh, okay. That is all I have. We were outside and we were laughing and having a good time.
It's too late.
Right. And
it's too late.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Are you smoking regular cigarette or are you smoking some funny cigarette?
No, we were smoking regular cigarettes.
But it was after you smoked the cigarette that you ended up in the tree, is that right?
Yes.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Brian Beester says he was injured when neighbor Courtney Barber kicked him in the head. Courtney says she was defending her boyfriend.
Go ahead.
We went up in the tree and we heard Mr. Beester yell out of his house, "Shut the f up." He didn't politely say anything about us being quiet. And we all looked at each other and we realized, okay, we're too loud, we need to go inside. And at that point, Mike had yelled back to him whatever he had said about call the cops. If he said F whatever, I don't remember that. And then as we were coming out of the tree, which was immediately after that, he had came out and was standing underneath the tree at that point. So running up to him.
He has to get dressed, put on his shoes because he was in bed. I don't know what the weather's like, whether he sleeps in the buff or he sleeps in pajamas. Either walk downstairs, take the elevator downstairs and come out.
There were 4 of us in the tree.
You shouldn't have been in a tree.
Absolutely.
Right?
I understand that, yes.
And what were you doing kicking him in the head?
Well, what had happened was that he was at the base of the tree when all of us had been down. Mike did not run at him or anything. And at that point, he told us, I'm in the military, you guys are being too loud, and there's no reason for you to be outside. And there was cursing back and forth. There was yelling back and forth.
Well, just a second. But that's what he said to you. I'm in the military?
Yes.
There's no reason for you? So why didn't somebody say to him, I'm sorry, we shouldn't have been making so much noise, we're leaving?
I did absolutely say, I am sorry, we're going inside.
You said that?
Absolutely, yes. Yes, I did.
Then you tell me how the pushing and shoving match started between the two of them.
Because he had called Mike a loser. He was in the military, he was better than us, basically, was absolutely yelling at us, and we were shocked. We didn't want any fight to happen. We were not about to
I don't
yell with this man
understand how he
and
started,
argue
how
with
he
him.
was getting kicked in the head. You want to get to that point?
Yes.
So far, I'm just hearing words.
Okay. When he said that I had put my hand on his chest and that he smacked it down, that was true. I had put my hand on it, in his face, not on his chest.
For what?
Because he was towering over me and he was screaming
Why didn't you just
over
leave?
me.
Why didn't you just leave?
We were walking away.
How could you just walk away?
He called me and that's when Mike got angry at the fact that he called me a.
So, what happened?
So Mike said there's no reason to call anybody a.
Is that what he
Don't
said?
call
Just
my
like
girlfriend
that?
a.
Just like that?
Yes.
Just like that?
Yes.
Nice and calm?
Don't call my girlfriend a, he said.
Keep going.
And then they started wrestling after cursing. They grabbed onto each other and they were throwing each other around. And nothing was even being yelled at that point by Mike saying hit me or any of that. Nothing
So they're
was said
tussling
like that.
around. I still don't understand how he got all these injuries.
He got Mike on the ground and was on top of him, and he says in his police report that he had him in a wrestling move.
Okay, so he got him on the
in
ground.
some kind of headlock. I could only see the bottom half of Mike, and the rest of him was underneath Brian.
Yeah.
And at that point, I got scared. He was on top of him, and I didn't know if Mike couldn't breathe or what was going on.
Why don't you ask him, Mike, can you breathe?
I was screaming at him, get off of him, leave him alone,
Why don't you
stop.
ask him, Mike, can you breathe? Instead of get off him, well, how about Mike, can you breathe? I still don't understand how he got all these injuries?
I was barefoot when I kicked him.
What were you doing barefoot?
Because it was summer. It was nice out. I just walked out of my apartment to have a cigarette.
So you climbed up the tree barefooted?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Yes, I did.
How did he get all these marks on him?
I kicked him once in the face, and he screamed out. And the second time I kicked him, he let Mike go.
Where had you been prior? Stand up, you. Where had you been prior to going out and tree hopping that evening?
Inside my apartment.
What about the 3 other people who were with you? Were they in your apartment earlier that evening?
Yes.
What were they doing in your apartment earlier that evening?
Hanging out with us.
Do you 2 live together?
Yes, all 3 of us do.
This young lady too?
Yes.
Okay, what do you do for a living?
I'm a desk clerk at a hotel.
And you?
Rough carpenter.
And you?
Customer service rep.
Did everybody just want to go out for a cigarette or just you?
Everybody did.
Did you have the cigarette when you went outside?
Yes.
When did you get up into the tree?
After we were finished, we ended up going and playing around, running around.
Were you smoking regular cigarette or were you smoking some funny cigarette?
No, we were smoking regular cigarettes.
Really? But it was after you smoked the cigarette that you ended up in the tree, is that right?
Yes.
You have medical bills?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
I'd like to see them, please.
I also got a letter from my dentist stating, you know, what had happened.
Any other bills that you have?
No, that's the only one I have, Your Honor.
Mr. Beaster, I'm going to make the following observation to you, sir. You're a grown man with a wife and a child, and you should have known better than to go outside once your wife called the police.
Yes.
You were hot because they disturbed your family, and the reaction when you said whatever you said to them irritated you. Otherwise, you would not have gone outside. That was a mistake. You should have acted in a more mature fashion. That doesn't in any way suggest that you are without fault. I'm not sure whether I believe. I was a smoker for a long time, and if I went outside to have a cigarette, I didn't end up in a tree.
Right.
Which suggests to me that you must have been feeling pretty good after that cigarette, because you're 3 people with responsible jobs. 3 people with responsible jobs usually don't have the reaction of hopping up into a tree after they have a smoke. I didn't see any indication here in the police report that the police officer smelled alcohol on your breath, so I might assume it was something else. In any event, you had absolutely no basis to cause the injuries to him that you did. Your actions precipitated the evening's events. If it wasn't for you, the whole thing wouldn't have started. All of you. So you're going to pay for his dental work. His dental work so far was $972. Those are the only bills I have. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You may step out.
He was there waiting for us to fight as soon as he got out of the tree, and that was
Self-defense.
No, that's a lie. That is a straight out lie. He's the one that came out of the tree, ran up to me and said, go ahead, hit me. I'll sue you. You're bigger than me. I don't care.
This is case number 260 on the calendar in the matter of DeGrace versus Rossi. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Grace, you rented a room from the defendant. The tenancy lasted 1 day. You want your money back, and in addition to your money back, you want some punitive damages you claim for invasion of your privacy. Mr. Rossi said you left of your own volition, you broke the terms of your tenancy, and you don't get any money back. Correct?
That is correct.
Okay. What kind of place did you rent to her, Mr. Rossi?
Room inside of a privately owned home.
You're the owner.
Yes.
So you rented her a room in your house with kitchen privileges, I assume?
Correct.
How much did you charge her in rent?
$325.
And what other money did she give you?
First month's additional for utility expenses.
How much did she give you in total?
$575.
Had you advertised for this room?
Yes.
Where?
Buffalo News.
Are you legally able to rent in your home?
Correct.
You are legally able to do that?
Sure.
She signed the lease?
No.
How come?
There was no written contract.
Why not?
Didn't feel the need to.
If you have a tenancy, then you have a contract. It says what your rent is, what security deposit, what it's for, that it'll be returned, what you're going to do with the security deposit, put it in an interest-bearing account. I mean, you want to do all these...
There was no mention of any security deposit, Your Honor.
Well, what was the other $250 for, sir?
Money that she chipped in for the utility expenses the first month.
$250 for your utilities?
Correct.
What utilities cost you $250?
There was no mention of any additional security deposit.
Mr. Rossi, had you ever rented a room before?
No.
Never?
No.
Okay. Who advised you legally?
No one.
That's what I figured. Okay. Now, Mr. Grace, what date did you move in?
January 1st.
When had you seen the room?
3 or 4 days before it.
And you spoke to Mr. Rossi?
Yes.
Who else lives in the home?
His girlfriend.
Just the two of them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How old are you?
19.
Your mother. Sit down. Yeah, what happened on January 1st when you moved in?
He helped me move my stuff into the apartment, and he was
What
acting very
apartment?
strange.
It was a room.
I'll get to that.
What apartment?
His apartment.
I thought it was a house.
No, it's not.
What is it?
It's an apartment that he is renting.
It's an apartment in a building that he's renting?
No, it's just an apartment, like a house, but he's renting.
From whom?
From his landlord.
Is that true?
It's a privately owned house, Your Honor.
Do you own it?
I don't own the house, no.
That's what I asked you before. Did I ask him that question before?
That's what you asked him.
And what did he say? He said yes.
He said, yeah.
You are a renter.
Yes.
What do you do for a living, Mr. Rossi?
Self-employed contractor.
How long have you been a tenant?
6 years.
In the same place?
Correct.
Did you have permission of your landlord to rent?
Yes.
Show me.
I don't have anything in writing.
Really?
No.
What's your rent?
How much do I pay for rent?
That would be the question, Mr. Rossi.
$470.
Plus what?
Utilities?
So your rent is $470, you're charging her $3 1/4.
Correct.
Go ahead, Mr. Grace. You say he's acting weird. He is weird.
He was not charging me $3 1/4. He was charging me $350.
Okay.
I paid him up front the day before I moved in for $250 for utilities, and the day that I moved in, I paid him $350 for the first month's rent. He refused to give me a receipt saying that I paid him the $350. He said for tax reasons. Then he showed me and my father all these gas bills that he owed. He did not say that he couldn't pay them. He just said that they were too high. And that night, I fell asleep that night. He came in my room. His pit bull first, he didn't tell me he had a pit bull. His pit bull burst into my room and started attacking me, started jumping all over me, biting my arms.
If a pit bull bit your arms, madam, you would know it. Mr. Grace, I don't want you to make up any stories
It was
to
under
embellish.
the covers.
You understand?
Okay, yes.
If a pit bull bites you all over the arms, you would have major scars or some scars.
I was under the covers.
Oh, okay, so his dog came into your room and it scared you.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Then he came in my room smoking pot. He got the dog off of me. And he sat down next to me and he started talking sexually to me. And he...
That's a lie.
No, it's not. He's the liar.
You felt uncomfortable there, is that right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Prior to your moving into his room, where had you been living?
At my father's.
Does your father live with your mother?
No.
How long had you been living with your father?
For about 3 years.
Why did you leave your father's house?
I wanted to become more independent.
Were you working?
No, I was going to school.
Full-time or part-time?
Full-time.
Who was going to be paying your rent?
I was.
If you're a full-time student, how are you going to pay your rent?
I am on SSI.
What's the nature of your disability?
Depression, anxiety.
And you take medication for that?
Yes.
You were going to try to make it on your own?
Yes.
Didn't work out. And the next day, you said, I'm going back home. Now, when you left, where did you go?
I didn't go back home. I called up my mother and I was crying.
Okay, and so did you go to your mother's house?
Yes.
And you stayed there?
Yes.
Is that where you're living now?
No.
Where are you living now?
I'm living back at my father's.
Okay, good. Everything okay?
At my father's, yes.
Okay. Now, Mr. Rossi, aside from the fact that you illegally rented a room in a place where you were a tenant and you have absolutely no proof of the fact that your landlord gave you permission to do that, I'd like you to tell me what were your out-of-pocket expenses for the 24 hours that Mr. Grace lived in your house? Is not an answer, Mr. Rossi.
Out-of-pocket expenses while she was there for 24 hours?
Yes.
There were none.
Perfect. Then if she left after 24 hours, why didn't you return her money to her?
Because I had to spend time to try to gain access to get myself a new tenant. If I was able to
what
have...
kind of nonsense did he just say? What kind of gobbledygook did he just put together?
I'm not catching it.
You're not catching it. You're not catching it.
You are
Sure. Mr. Grace.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You don't look like an unintelligent person. A little slimy, but not unintelligent.
And later today,
Tell me what they were.
It was payment for money that I loaned.
That's not what I asked you. That is the conclusion.
The circumstances?
If you don't remember, say I don't remember. Remember that I will test you.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 19-year-old Allison DeGrace claims former landlord Stephen Rossi caused her to move out after only one day. Allison says during her first night there, Stephen entered her room while she was asleep.
Mr. Rossi, my question was, you illegally rented a room, she moved out, you had absolutely no loss as a result of her moving out. If you were aware of the fact, Mr. Rossi, that when she moved in, that she was on medication, a fact that was evident to me, then why didn't you say, look, this is not working out. She's unhappy. I'm going to give her back her money.
I wasn't aware
And
that
moved
she was
her.
unhappy, Your Honor.
Listen, she moves all of her things into your house. She comes there with her father?
Correct.
With her father. I mean, if you're an intelligent person, you don't look like an unintelligent person, a little slimy, but not unintelligent. You understand that there's a certain dynamic here going on. This was what month? January in Buffalo? It gets very cold, but I'm sure your brain thawed out enough in Buffalo in January to understand that there's a certain family dynamic going on here. So if it didn't work out and she was unhappy, she was stressed, whatever it was, you say, here's your $600 back. I'm not out any money. It didn't work out, especially since you were doing something that was in violation of your tenancy. You probably fell behind on some bills, and you probably figured you could get somebody to shore up a little bit, and you did, and you got a $600. You managed to pay off the bills you were behind paying off, and you say you can't have your money back. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $600. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Everything he said was a complete lie.
The girl's on lithium. She's on Prozac. She's only 19 years old.
I'm not on heavy medication.
I think she moved into a place. She moved out the following day. It's her loss.
I'm not crazy.
I think the girl's nuts.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Moore versus Muhammad. Step forward, please.
Pharmacy technician Tracy Moore is suing her ex-boyfriend, private detective Busharat Muhammad, for an unpaid loan to get his car out of the shop. Busharat is countersuing for medical bills as the result of Tracy's harassment.
Miss Moore, you claim a loan, a small one, of $200 to the defendant who at some point was a boyfriend of yours.
Yes.
Mr. Mohammed says there was never a loan. You did, in fact, give him $200, which is the amount you're suing for, but that was for work that he was doing for you in his capacity as a private investigator. Mr. Mohammed has filed a counterclaim alleging that because you harassed him for this $200 over a long period of time, he developed an ulcer, and he would like you to pay some $2,000 for his medical bills. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you meet him, and when did you give him the $200?
I met him at the end of July in 2002. I loaned him the $200 on September 2nd in the agreement that he was going to pay me back.
September 2nd?
Yes, ma'am.
So did you start to date him? Were you dating him in July and August?
You could say that, yes.
What do you mean? I don't want to say that. I want to know if you want to say that.
Sorry. It was more of he starting to take control of me and was making me call him all the time, and so I guess he was claiming me as his girlfriend, yes.
I don't know what that means.
Your Honor, she's lying. That's why she can't even tell the court straight what's going on.
I'm going to get to you in a second. Did you go out to dinner together?
No, ma'am.
Did you go to a movie together?
No, ma'am.
Did you go visit a park together?
No, he was always...
A zoo?
No.
I don't want to hear anything. Did he come to your house?
Yes.
For dinner?
No, ma'am.
Did you have an intimate relationship?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about this $200 in September.
He asked me to loan him $200 so he can get his car out of a shop.
Tell me where you were when you had this discussion.
In my apartment.
And exactly what did he say to you?
He asked me if he could borrow the $200 so he can get his car out of the shop, and that he would pay me back within 2 days when he got his money. And then he took me to the bank to cash my check, and that's when I gave him the $200.
And what happened on September 2nd? After that, you didn't see him anymore?
He didn't come over, and I would try and call him, and he told me to stop harassing him, and he would hang up on me.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Mohammed, let me hear you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. First of all, Your Honor, we never dated. We had a friendship, but we never dated. That's why she couldn't get it straight. I never told her my car was in the shop. She came to me. She said that her mother was trying to...
Just a second. She came to you where?
Well, we were at her house talking.
So you were at her house?
Exactly.
She didn't come to you?
No, we were at her house.
You went to her house?
I went to her house to visit her.
Go ahead.
And she said that her mother was her mother was really upset. And I said, about what? And she said, well, because she is trying to get money from her ex-husband, trying to garnish his wages. I said, well, I did investigation part-time before. If you want me to try to help you, I can save her a lot of money by taking her down to the court places where you could buy the paperwork, show her how to fill the paperwork out. She could do it herself.
You were going to take her to the courthouse?
No.
To where?
I have a client of mine that owns a store where he sells paper, you know, the packets that show you how to file on landlord disputes and certain things, small things, individual.
So you were going to take her to the store?
Yes, ma'am.
And get her the right set of forms?
Exactly.
Go ahead.
And she said, yes. She said, well, I told her, well, for a flat fee of $200, I would do that. Ms. Moore said, I'll give it to him when I get my check in the mail.
Okay, so that's what you say it was for. You took her to the bank, she gave you the $200.
Exactly.
And that was on what date, sir?
That was around September the 7th or 8th.
Okay. Now, when did you take her mother to the store?
I never did.
You never did?
No, ma'am.
Well, that's what you were supposed to do, according to your answer, Mr. Mohammed, for the $200.
Exactly.
So you didn't do what you had said you were going to do?
No, ma'am. I didn't.
Why not?
Because I tried to contact her mother 3 days in a row. In fact, after I got the money the next day, I called her. I said, look, we need to try to get down there and take her to the stationery store.
Okay, so you didn't get together with the mother, so keep going.
So she called me about 2 days later and said, I want the money back.
Right.
I said, I don't have it right now. I said, my thing was to help your mother. She said, well, I need the money. She said, because I got to pay bills and feed my children. I said, well, I don't have it right now. She said, well, you better get it.
You're a hustler.
I'm a hustler.
You're a hustler.
I'm about as much hustler
You're a
as you are.
hustler. You're a hustler, Mr. Mohammed. Let me tell you why you're a hustler. Because I read your answer very carefully. Let's understand what you've just testified to before I get to it. You said to me that this was not a loan.
Right.
This had nothing to do with your car.
Exactly.
You said to... Don't agree with me, sir. You said to me that you were having a discussion with her. She said her mother needed to do some work to get some alimony or support from her ex-husband. You had a friend who had a stationery store. You were going to take her mother down there and make sure she got the right forms. That's not something that costs $200.
No,
let me finish. I'm finishing now, but that's what you were going to do. And then, for one reason or another, within a day or two, you realized that this wasn't going to come about. You weren't going to take her mother down to get the forms, and therefore you had done nothing so far. Nothing for that $200. Now, let me read from your answer, sir. In August, she hired me to do some investigating on her mother's ex-husband. I made them a deal that I would do the work for a flat fee of $200 up front. I got started on the case. What case? Going to your friend's store? In any case, I started the work, and the few days I put in on the case are worth more than $200. That's what you swore to. You did nothing. Nothing. So, why didn't you give it back to her?
Because she had people coming over to where I live at, threatening me on the phone.
Why didn't you just give her back the $200 or say to her,
because she
I'm
never
sorry,
said,
Miss Moore, I shouldn't have spent it before I did anything, but I
told her
spent
that.
it.
I told her that.
Did you tell her you would give it back to her?
I did tell her that.
Did you tell her when?
I told her to give me a couple of weeks.
So why, Mr. Mohammed, did you swear to, in your statement to me, that you had already done work on the case? Why didn't you just say, I told her that I would give her back her money, just give me 2 weeks, I didn't have it. Why didn't you write that in your answer?
Because I did tell her that. I did tell her I would give her the money back.
You didn't tell that to me.
Even though I initially had started, even though I contacted her 3 days in a row to contact her mother. I even met with her mother. Her mother came by and I talked to her mother.
You getting the whole thing?
I went to her house and talked to her mother.
You're getting the whole thing, right? All right, let's get to your counterclaim. So she bothered you. She called you 50 times a day.
No, she's sending
and you got
people
an
over to my house threatening me with
And?
terroristic threats, physical violence.
And that gave
That's
you an ulcer?
not how you go about getting your money.
That gave you an ulcer?
Well, what gave me ulcer was deciding, well, should I kill these people for threatening me over $200? Or should I try? Because people don't understand. Little small things start great wars. And these people were threatening me with physical violence about $200. I'm not no punk or pushover. So if they got to bring a life to take a life, my point is that they come to take my life, I'm going to take theirs, even if it's about $200.
Good. Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $200. Your counterclaims dismissed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah, this is case number 288 on the calendar in the matter of Mystead Tucker versus Gocher. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Who's going to be speaking for the plaintiff's side? You are. What is your name, sir?
Jason.
Okay. Now, is your complaint that Mr. Gocher both damaged your car and assaulted you when you wouldn't move fast enough at a gas pump?
Yes.
The defendant says that you were the instigator of this unfortunate incident. Is that right, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
No. All right. Who is this?
This is my witness.
Was he driving in the truck with you?
He was driving the crew truck that we were trying to fuel up, yes.
Was he driving in the truck that you were driving?
Oh, no, ma'am. I'm sorry.
It's a simple question. He was not. He was behind you.
No, he was at a separate island. I had parked at another island.
Who was behind the plaintiff's truck?
The truck that my witness was driving.
Step up here. Tell me your name.
David Wolford.
What kind of vehicle did they have?
I believe it was a Ford Ranger.
You pulled up behind them
Yes, ma'am.
in order to put gas in your...
Truck, yes.
What kind of truck was it?
It's a big 1-ton. I was pulling a big trailer.
Where were you going?
We were going to San Francisco on a job, for a job.
How many cars were in, or trucks were in the caravan that you were in?
There was 2.
Where was the defendant's truck in relation to your truck when you pulled up to the gas station?
He was the next pump over on the other side.
Did he have a gas pump available to him? Was he
Yes.
putting gas in his truck?
Yes, ma'am.
And what about you?
No, ma'am. I pulled up behind him.
Behind him?
Yes, ma'am. Behind.
Yes.
And sat there. My brother got out, and we, walked around there. We sat and waited, and my brother-in-law turned his pump on, come over and give us our gas.
Who's your brother-in-law?
Joe, I'm sorry.
He's the brother-in-law.
Yes, ma'am. And he come over and give us the gas card where we can get gas when we got up there.
Okay.
And he went back in to get coffee and got his coffee, come back out, and the guy was still sitting there, the defendant. Or
What were they doing?
Ma'am, I don't know.
They were just sitting in the truck?
Sitting in the truck, yes.
Okay. Had they put gas in their car?
Yes, they were.
Did you
already,
see them put gas in their car?
Yes, we were pulling in. He was shutting the gas tank and getting in.
Was he alone at that time?
She was in the truck with him.
So he gets finished putting gas in his truck and comes over to give you the card so that you could put gas in your truck.
Yeah, he started his and started pumping it and brought me the card.
And you're sitting behind these people. Now,
Yes,
what
ma'am.
happens next, sir?
We sat there, and like I said, he went and got coffee. And the whole time, they were just sitting in their truck. He come back, and he hollered, you guys move your truck. She turned around and looked. And they kept sitting there. He said, move the damn truck. And the guy just, whoop, about 4 or 5 inches, just burned his tire and stopped, just sit there.
What are you talking about? He just burned his... You mean he moved the truck?
Just about 6 inches, just barely burnt the tires,
Okay.
just enough to make the tires burn. And then my brother-in-law continuously told him, come on, move the truck, we got to go. And she opened the back window and told him, wait a effing minute, we'll move the truck. And he told her to shut up. And
Who told her to shut up?
My brother-in-law. You just shut up, move the truck.
Who was driving the truck?
The gentleman.
He was?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
And
Uncross your arms.
Oh, sorry.
And then he got out of the truck. The plaintiff got out of the truck, slammed his door open, and come out towards my brother-in-law with his fist rolled up. So my brother-in-law,
Explain to me. Fist rolled up. Show me what that means.
like, he come out like this and come towards you. And my brother-in-law grabbed him by his shirt because, it looked like to me he was wanting to fight. When he come out, it looked like he was going to hit him. So he grabbed him. They started rolling around on the truck. My brother, that couldn't make it today, grabbed my brother-in-law, and I grabbed him, and I was holding him, and all the words stopped, and he relaxed. So I let him go. When I let him go, he took and swung and hit my brother-in-law in his glasses. Hit his glasses, cut his eye. So my other brother let him go because, there wasn't no sense of holding him and letting him get, beat up. So then they continued fighting. Anyway, they wrestled towards the truck, and they separated, and he told his wife or girlfriend, I'm not sure what she is, and told her, come on, get in the truck, let's go. So she got in, he took off, burning the tires out of there.
Now let me hear your version, sir.
Okay, I was getting gas.
Uncross your arms.
I was pumping gas, When the truck pulled up behind me, just like they said, he pulled up at another gas pump. I don't believe he was getting gas. He walked over, started talking to the two guys behind me. When I was done getting gas, I got in my truck, I adjusted my seat, put my seatbelt on. Before I could drive away, he started punching the bed of my truck, yelling, "Let's go, let's go, let's go."
It's not true, Your Honor. I object.
I didn't ask you to say a word.
She opened the back...
Just a second. Did you understand what I said?
Yes, ma'am.
She opened the back window and said, "Stop hitting my truck." I said, "Move this piece." I let that go. I started to drive away. My 6-month-old son, who was in the front seat, dropped his bottle. I stopped, picked it up, handed it to him. Before I could drive away again, he started hitting the truck again, and now he started yelling, "Ram him, ram him, ram him," push him out of the way. At this point, I wanted to get out of the truck to see how many dents he put in my truck, which he did. He put 3 in the bed. She told him, before I could get out, I said, "Stop hitting the truck, and if you give us a second, we're moving." That's when he said, "Shut your mouth, you crazy effing bee."
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The next thing I know, I'm on all fours, blood pouring out of my face.
I looked towards the truck, looking at his rearview mirror, said, "Hey, move the truck."
Your hot temper started the problem. My temper is going to finish it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jason Meisted claims he was assaulted by Joseph Gocher. Joseph says Jason was blocking the pumps at a gas station.
Go ahead.
I got out of the truck to see the damage. Before I could even get back to the damage, he grabbed me by the throat with both hands and bent me backwards over into the bed of the truck. I then stood up. When I stood up...
Right.
When I stood up, he still had me by the throat. I don't know who it was, but one of the guys in the truck behind me grabbed my arms and put them behind my back. She, at this point, tried to help me. She couldn't do anything because one of the other guys grabbed her and threw her back into the gas pump. I don't know who it was, had my arms behind my back. They ran me into the door that was open. The next thing I know, I'm on all fours, blood pouring out of my face. I jumped up, I told her, I said, "Get in the truck." She got in the truck, we drove home, and I called 911.
When you called 911, did you file a report?
Yes.
Can I see the report, please? Did you know him from before?
No.
It says when his neighbor, later identified as Joseph Gocher, is he a neighbor of yours?
He lives 4 houses down.
So what do you mean you didn't know him before?
I mean, I've seen him, but I didn't know him. I don't know who he is.
4 houses down from where you're currently living?
Yes.
Did you ever had any problem with him before?
No.
And you didn't know his name?
No.
Who's Robert?
It's my brother.
Hmm? Well, at least Robert's honest. Robert tried to restrain him because he knows he's got a bad temper. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Sit down. Now, Mr. Gocher, you want to tell me your version of these events?
Yes, ma'am. Upon pulling into the gas station, I put my truck in one stall, started fueling it, and we used a company credit card. It was company vehicles. I then took the card over to Robert, gave it to him while we were waiting for Mr. Meisted to move. I went into the store, got coffee, came back out. They still hadn't pulled up, but his truck was running. I finished fueling mine, and then I asked Robert, which was one of the other crew members, I asked him what the problem was. And I walked over there to the front of our crew truck. And he said, "The guy won't move. He's still sitting there." So I looked towards the truck, looking at his rearview mirror, said, "Hey, move the truck." And
Let me stop you there for a moment, sir. According to what you just told me, you started the gas pumping in your truck, is that right? And then you went in for coffee?
Yes.
Tell me about that. Tell me about going in for coffee.
Well, I started the gas pump in my truck.
Correct.
I have a separate vehicle. I walked over, handed my brother-in-law the card.
Right.
And then I went in.
Just a second. That just took a couple of seconds, right?
Right. And then I went inside to
you
make
didn't say,
coffee.
shh. You didn't say anything to him. You just handed him the card and said, he understood that he was supposed to fill up the gas tank.
Correct.
Correct? And meanwhile, the gas is still pumping in your truck. Is that right?
Correct.
And then you went inside. Were there other people inside in the
There was a
convenience
few,
store?
yes.
How many?
Oh, roughly 5.
And so you went over to get coffee. Did you get a large coffee or a small coffee?
I got a 20-ounce cup of coffee.
You take your coffee black?
No, cream and sugar.
So after you filled in this 20-ounce cup, then you put in cream. How many?
2.
And sugar? How many?
It's in a big container for roughly 2-3 tablespoons or 2-3 teaspoons.
And then you walked over to pay.
Correct.
Was there anyone before you when you paid?
There was one person at the counter, yes.
And so they had to pay for whatever they were getting. Is that right?
They were in the process, yes.
And did they get change?
Yeah.
And what about you? How much was your 20-ounce coffee?
$1.06.
Did you have exact change?
I gave her $1 and a dime.
And she had to make change?
I leave it. I never even get it. I walk out after that.
Okay. And now you're walking out and you've got this hot cup of coffee in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then you walked over to your truck, I assume, to get rid of this hot cup of coffee.
Actually, I set it on the toolbox because my truck had finished pumping. I set it on the toolbox.
That's my point, sir. You put on the gas. You didn't stay with your truck. You walked inside, took care of your business. Anybody who pulled up behind you waiting for your truck to be finished would have to sit and wait for you to come out from getting your coffee with cream and sugar and paying the bill and waiting behind somebody else who was also getting their stuff. You didn't give a rat's behind about somebody waiting for you. You said, let them wait. You didn't even think about it. You
No,
went
Your Honor.
inside. Oh, sure, because you said my gas was already finished pumping.
No, because I know how long it takes for me to walk in,
Bull!
get a cup,
Bull!
and my truck was totally empty,
You know,
so I know how long it takes to
I'm
fill
10 steps ahead of you, sir.
Go ahead.
I'm 10 steps ahead of you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jason Meisted claims he was assaulted by Joseph Gocher. Joseph says Jason was blocking the pumps at a gas station.
So, you walked inside and you didn't care. You said, walk inside and get my coffee. You didn't finish putting the gas in the car, putting back the cover, moving your truck over to the side so that somebody else could come and get gas. You took care of your business.
There was nobody
and then you
behind
went,
me waiting.
Just a second. And then, well, that being the case, sir, you could have had him pull up behind you. It didn't bother you one bit that somebody may have been waiting an extra maybe 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes, maybe 1 minute for you to come out with your coffee and move your truck.
No,
that didn't bother you at all. You
If
are
somebody's
some
behind me-
hothead.
If somebody
You
was
are
behind me-
some hothead. And Robert knows it because Robert said to the police, I went over there because he's a hothead and I wanted to make sure he didn't cause any trouble. That's what Robert said to the police.
No, when I'm confrontated, yes, I do tend to go.
Confrontated is not a word, sir.
Well,
Not in the English language. Not in the English language.
Confronted.
You got a hot temper. What do you think he was doing in there? Do you think he was writing a song? What do you think he was doing in the truck? He's got his wife or girlfriend who's pregnant. He's got a baby, a 6-month-old baby in the car. What do you think he's doing? For you to get so excited. You want to be a human being? You walk over and you say, is there something wrong? Is there any reason you're not moving? You don't shout like you did and call her a name like you did. But even he knows you did it.
I admit to doing it.
Well, then
No
you're
problem.
responsible. Then you're responsible for the damage to his car.
But
and
I
you're-
didn't hit his truck. I never touched his truck.
Listen to me, sir. His truck was damaged, according to the police, by him being thrown into the car.
To the door.
Right. You're responsible for that. You started the problem.
I offered
Your
to pay for the door.
your hot temper started the problem. My temper is going to finish it. Because there was no reason for you to put your hands on him to start this whole confrontation. You took your sweet time going into a convenience store, getting your coffee, and you didn't give a hoot about who was waiting behind you, about somebody else looking to pull their car up and get gas. When I get finished, I can just imagine your attitude if someone who was behind your truck saying, what do you mean you went in to get coffee and just left your truck here? What are you, crazy? You stupid SOB? You would explode. You would have a fit.
If somebody was behind me, I'd just move the truck out of the way.
How can you do that, sir? You're putting cream in your coffee.
There was nobody.
Can
There
I
was
see the
nobody
damage
behind
to
me.
your truck, please? Mr. Meistat, I'm not finished with you either. I want to tell you something. You didn't use your brains either because you're dealing with someone who is not wrapped too tight, who's got a hot temper, who got your goat because he called your wife a name. You get out of your car or your truck, she's in the car, you got a baby in the car, and you start a confrontation with him. That's not swift, sir. That's not swift. You're dealing with somebody who has a bad temper. You're better off pulling away, going to the police, and saying, I believe someone just damaged my car. This is what their car looked like. Right?
True.
Right? That's what you do when you're dealing with somebody who's a lunatic. My only problem is, the only reason he wasn't arrested is because he had 2 witnesses who testified to some cock and bull story. have pictures of yourself, sir?
Yes.
I'd like to see them. I see a lot of feet pictures. I don't see any injury here, sir.
It's the ankle.
What happened to your ankle?
Well, I broke it back in on June 30th. I just got off a cane when this all happened, and there's a re-injury. Here's my emergency room records of going back in.
How much did the emergency room cost you?
It was $619.
Between the emergency room visit only, which is all that I'm considering, and the damage to the car, which is $1,724, $2,343. Now, what you're suing for is $5,000, sir, because you want also to be paid for lost wages due to assault, to the assault.
Yes.
What lost wages did you have?
Well, like I said, I broke my ankle on June 30th. I was on crutches for 6 weeks with the cast. When I got the cast off, I was on crutches for a month. I went to rehabilitation, was on a cane.
That has nothing to do with him.
Well, no, I just got off a cane, just got back to work. When he assaults me, and with the emergency room records there and seeing my doctor, I was back on disability for another month.
Chalk that up to your own stupidity. I told you that there is a contributory negligence on your part, contributory stupidity. If you would just get off of crutches, he was wife or his girlfriend?
I'm his girlfriend.
Girlfriend had to take care of you 6 months. You weren't working. You explained to me the wisdom of getting out of the truck, your truck, to confront him.
Well, when somebody's punching your truck, don't I have the right to get out and look at the damage?
No, what you're supposed to do when you have a nut who's hitting your
I didn't know he was a nut.
Oh, no? You didn't know he was a nut? You didn't know he was hitting your car because you weren't moving fast enough?
And I don't have the right to get out and check out the damage?
I'm not talking about right. I'm talking about using your brains. I'm talking about trying to be a little smart, just like you drove off and try to find a police officer. Is that what you try to do? Then you do that first. You don't do that after the damage is done. You try to do that first, especially when you have a baby in the car.
I did try to drive away the first time.
Yes.
And they punched my truck again.
So, even more so, the guy's a real nut. He hit my car a second time, and I'm driving away. How many babies do you have?
This will be number 2.
Grow up. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of both the damage and the emergency room treatment, which is $2,343. As far as your lost wages is concerned, chalk that up to the fact that you didn't use good judgment. Because he is a hot-tempered idiot doesn't mean that you react when you have a baby in the car to somebody who's acting inappropriately and like they're not wrapped too tight. That's what you're supposed to do if you're a responsible parent. By the way, is there any reason why the two of you aren't married?
We're engaged.
Is there any reason why the two of you who are having a second child, why you're not married?
What does that matter?
I'm just curious. I said as a matter of curiosity, matter of responsibility.
We've been engaged and we plan on getting married, yes.
Well, is there any reason, madam, why before you have your second child that you don't decide to make that
Because I don't
kind of a
want to be
commitment?
pregnant walking down my aisle. I want to...
Well, you had some time between the first and the second, didn't you?
Yes, I did,
Good.
and I didn't want to get married in the winter.
Yes, case number 106 on the calendar in the matter of Ward versus Price Ward. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mrs. Ward, the defendant is your son, and the co-defendant is his fiancée or girlfriend.
Correct.
You have children together,
Yes, ma'am. Not together. I have a son and she has a daughter.
but they live with you.
Yes, ma'am.
I've read your complaint very carefully, Mrs. Ward. This is your husband?
Yes, ma'am.
According to your complaint, you claim that your son assaulted you in his home and that his fiancée was present, and while there is no claim that she assaulted you, she did nothing to prevent it.
Correct.
I don't know why you're standing up as a plaintiff, just to give moral support to your wife, sir?
Well, not only moral support, but I was there also because I wanted to stop the situation with my
You
boy.
were there on the evening of this alleged
Yes, I
assault
was.
with your wife?
Yes, I was.
Why were you and your wife at your son's home?
Okay, my wife had called my son up. She wanted to talk to him. This is through a prior conversation she'd been trying to deal with him for a while.
About what, Mrs. Ward?
Go ahead.
About the TV and the VCR.
Tell me about the TV and the VCR.
My son and his wife, Ben, were having problems. Sean had sold everything in his house. He didn't have a good job like he does now. I mean, he was doing work, piecework.
Just a second. I read your complaint very carefully. Let me see if I can make this,
Okay.
because this is just a background to the story.
Okay.
Your son came to live with you for a while.
Yes, ma'am.
He was supposed to pay you rent, $50 a week.
Right.
He didn't pay you the rent.
No, ma'am. I did pay. Okay.
You claim he didn't pay you the rent. And you said, when you move, you leave me the TV and the VCR for the rent. And then when he moved out, he took the TV and the VCR.
Yes, ma'am.
And the reason you and your husband went over there that night was to take back the TV and the VCR.
Yes, ma'am.
Now tell me what happened when you got there.
They were eating dinner. So we went in the living room while they was eating and watched TV. The children were there too, eating. They got done, came in and gave us a hug, you know, and Michelle was getting them ready for bed. And so Sean says, well, you're here, what do you want to talk about? And I said, the TV and VCR. He said, I knew that's what it was going to be about. And he stood up. I said, he says, I do not owe you anything, Mom, nothing, and I want you out of the house. Well, I have a book right here where I kept notes, and his signature is on it. And I said, son, I have proof. I opened the book, and that's when he stood up and got very angry at me and told me to, I don't want the words he said, to get out.
Get out of the house.
And actually, I didn't really believe him. I meant, he's my baby son, and I believe in his
Just
word.
a minute. So he told you to leave his house at least twice?
Yes, ma'am.
And then what happened?
And I said, you're kidding, Sean. He said, I'm not kidding. Baba. He said some other words. And I said, then I'll go up and get it myself. I know I can't. Look at me, how much I weigh. I knew I couldn't get it myself.
Where was your husband during all this time?
Can I speak? I was in the living room.
So you were in the living room. So your
Yes.
wife was going to go upstairs and take the TV and the VCR. That's what she said she was going to do anyway.
That's correct.
So she started up the stairs, and what happened? Mrs. Ward.
Well, as she proceeded to start upstairs, first of all, I was shocked on the whole situation, the anger he threw at his mother. As I seen this anger, I just kind of looked at him and said, you know, you shouldn't talk to your mother that way because she is your mother, irregardless, you know, what she says or does. She proceeded to go upstairs. I went with her upstairs to slow her down and said, honey, I think we might as well go ahead and leave. And she says, well, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay right here till he either gives me the VCR and the TV. And at that point, he says, well, I'm going to call the sheriff. She said, well, go ahead and call the sheriff. And he just got angry at that point. He says, well, the heck with it. As I was proceeding to hold her back a little bit from proceeding upstairs, then he turned around and got angry and turned around and says, well, by God, I'll get her out. Then he jerked her off the step, holding onto the steps, threw her on his back. I told him, do not hurt your mother. He says, oh, I'm going to put her out if that's the only way I can get her out. Then I heard a big old thud in the living room, and I come running in there. She had hit the floor. I don't know if he dropped her or what happened. She was really hurt, and at that time she was speechless. She was shocked, and she says, I am going on my own. You don't need to manhandle me anymore.
Incorrect.
So he proceeded to pick her up by the arm, straight up, head on out the door, all the way to the car, slammed her into the car. She hit her head on the door as she went in. And at that time, he just said, this is where you're going to stay, get out of here. So that's as far as it went. Why I didn't do anything, people says, well, why didn't you get a pipe and hit him over the head? First of all, he's my son. I do love him. I love my wife both. They're trying to make a choice so quickly, and I'm not really much of a match to go jumping ahead and start doing something to my son again to his house. So there's a lot of thoughts had to go through my head. And
Was your wife drinking that day?
No, she was not.
She had anything to drink of an alcoholic nature. Just
No,
make sure.
She doesn't.
She don't drink. She might drink a little something. It wasn't alcohol. that
Okay,
had
so
anything to do with
this was not alcohol related. She was in total control of her senses
It was drug
when she
induced.
came to your house. Is that right?
Drug-induced, not alcoholic.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
That was part of the deal.
Deal, Schmiel, listen to me.
I gave him a place to live, Your Honor.
Big deal. He's your child.
And later today,
The relationship was quite expensive.
He gave me a promise ring.
She was constantly asking for money.
He promised to marry me.
I felt that I was being taken advantage of, literally.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Donna Ward says her son, Sean Ward, assaulted her while she was visiting his home. Sean says his mother was belligerent and refused to leave.
You take prescription medication?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Now, you have photographs of your injuries?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see them. The marks that I see on your arms are consistent with being picked up by your arms.
Yes, ma'am.
That was your injury.
That's ma'am.
Now, I'm going to let you tell me your side of the story, Mr. Ward.
Okay.
Okay. First of all, the case is dismissed for all purposes against Miss Price because she did not participate in this,
Correct.
other than to stand by and do nothing, which is the same thing you did, Mr. Ward. She's not even married to him. You're married to her. Why would you sue Miss Price?
Because I felt like, just like he did, tried to get Sean to calm down. I was hoping that maybe she...
Your husband didn't come to your defense. Why would a stranger?
Not for me, for her husband. I thought maybe she would ask Sean to stop. I mean, that's all.
She's not a party to this case.
Okay.
So, tell me your version of the events. Your mother came to get...
Yes,
your mother
ma'am.
came?
My mother came to the house. I had paid them $100 a week instead of the $50 that she was agreed on to pay. So, therefore, she knew the TV was paid for. She let me take it on wheel out the house. The only reason that I had any confrontation with her at all, because both my 5- and 6-year-old kids were standing in the living room, that she had asked for them to be present. I thought maybe she had a health problem that she was getting ready to tell us about. And when she did come up with that situation, I did get angry, but I did stand up and ask them both to leave. I opened both the doors, and I said, y'all need to leave. And I might have said it a little meaner, to get out of my house.
Right.
They would not leave.
Ultimately, you picked her up and put her out of the house.
Yes, ma'am. I picked her up off the steps.
And that's what the marks are on her arm.
That possibly could be.
All right. This part of the case is pretty easy. Mr. and Mrs. Ward, you are not entitled to any damages. You entered his home with his permission.
Exactly.
Then he asked you to leave. You refused to leave. At that point, you are trespassing on his property. He asked you to leave again. You still would not leave. The law permits him, as I'm sure the judge told you in court when you were there on the criminal case, that he has the right to use reasonable force. He can't shoot you. He can't stab you. But he can physically take you and move you out of his property, which is exactly what he did. Now, the fact that I don't understand why you are there trying, if your son is finally back on his feet, and he's now got a good job, and he's got a home, and he's got 2 kids that he's taking care of, why in the world you would make a big deal out of a television set and an old VCR, I haven't a clue. But I'm not going into that.
Okay.
Because there's no logical reason why you would go to his house and create a scene with 2 children there to get back a TV and a VCR that you think was owed to you for rent.
I did not. I let the children go upstairs. I've asked him without the children being around.
I don't know why you would ask for it at all.
Because, ma'am, that was part of the deal.
Deal? Schmeal, listen to me.
I gave him a place to live, Your Honor.
Big deal. He's your child.
I know, and I'm his mom. I did not want to do this.
Well, you shouldn't have done it.
Sean knows in his heart that he said, I believed in his word. And
Mrs. Ward,
yes, ma'am.
how many children do you have?
I have 7.
If your child has not been doing well for a while, as you said, he hasn't been, he'd been in and out of your house, and he was finally, according to you, finally got a good job and back on his feet, what mother in her right mind would say, now I'm going to take the television set that you watch and the VCR that you watch, or that the children watch in their room? There's no excuse. You could talk from today till tomorrow. I have children.
I know.
And for $250, you went to the house to make a scene?
No, ma'am, I did not intend to make any kind of
Of course
scene.
you did. Because
No,
once he
ma'am.
said to you, I'm here for the TV and the VCR, and he said, I don't want to talk about it
I
now,
only
so please
started
leave. Then you decided to go upstairs and you said, I'm going to take it myself. That's creating a scene.
I didn't think that I was very smart, Your Honor.
Oh, fine.
But he had
Good.
gotten a big, huge television, and I figured that he knew we were down. That TV would have helped us. We were down, and there was nobody helping us.
Stop it. Your children aren't supposed to help you. You're supposed to help them.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Donna Ward says her son, Sean Ward, assaulted her while she was visiting his home. Sean says his mother was belligerent and refused to leave.
You were arrested for assault,
Yes, ma'am.
and those charges were dismissed.
Yes, ma'am.
And I assume that they were dismissed, Mr. Ward, because they ultimately determined that you had the legal right to put your mother off the property.
Correct on
Is
her
that
own
right?
testimony. I didn't even have to testify.
Right. You can't sue her.
Right.
Here, you can't sue her.
Correct.
The district attorney determined that there was sufficient evidence to go to trial with because your mother had your fingerprint marks on her arms.
Correct.
Why she proceeded that far, I don't know, but she did. So you have no right to sue her for false arrest because you did, in fact, put your hands on her. You weren't in fear of your life from your mother.
No,
You weren't in fear of life, and certainly not from
No,
your
ma'am.
father because he didn't do anything.
No, ma'am. I intended no harm, and due respect to you and her, I do love my mother. Only thing I have here is the bills that I had to pay, my lawyer bills, and
You shouldn't have put your hands on your mother.
and then been out.
You shouldn't have put
You're
your,
absolutely correct,
You shouldn't
ma'am.
have put
But
your hands
I
on
was
your mother.
looking
Pay your
forward-
own bills.
I was looking forward
Case
to
is
my
dismissed.
kids.
That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I have always believed in his word, and if you can't stand by your word, what else do you have?
He's upset with the fact that he's fighting with his mother, which no person wants to be, and I just wish it would all be over with.
I would like us to be a family. I don't know if that's possible.
What I wanted was just my name to be cleared, and that happened. So I'm very happy about it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Edmund versus Athanasatos. Step forward, please.
Postal worker Tracy Edmond is suing tattoo artist Alex Athanasatos for the cost of a tattoo removal. Tracy says Alex botched a tattoo of her late mother.
Bird, don't get too comfortable.
This is going to be a quick one.
Yes. Miss Edmond, according to your complaint, the defendant is a tattoo artist.
Yes.
And you went to the defendant because you recently lost your mother?
Yes.
And you wanted a picture of your mother memorialized on your body?
Yes.
Ah. A picture on your dresser wouldn't have done.
It would have.
You're unhappy with the picture that he did, and you want him to pay thousands of dollars to have the picture removed. Is that right?
Yes.
First of all, do you want to show me the tattoo? Where is it, on your arm?
Yes.
Could you step up here? Okay. And I see you've had tattoos before.
Yes.
So that's not... How many tattoos do you have altogether?
7.
7. Had you ever done work for her before?
No.
Did he come recommended to you?
Yes.
But I'm going to get to your complaint. You said everything was going fine until you saw him light up a joint and start to smoke a joint.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Did you get up and leave?
No, because it was almost half done.
Almost half done is not done. Now, according to what I read in your complaint, you said everything was going fine, right?
Yes.
And he was doing a good job, right?
Yes.
Until he started to smoke a joint.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at that point, you get up and leave, and you said, listen, when you're finished, I'll come back tomorrow. Why didn't you do that?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know, how should I know? If somebody is doing brain surgery and they seem to be doing okay,
How do you...
and right in the middle of the brain surgery, they say, do me a favor, would you give me a double vodka?
I'll take one.
Quiet. Sorry. That's the time you say, listen, we'll finish this surgery another time. Or get somebody else to close me up. Or something. You don't sit there and hope for the best and then say, well, he was smoking a joint and clearly he wasn't doing the right thing, so I sat there like a jerk and let him finish, because then he wasn't doing a good job anymore, and then complain that it doesn't look like your mother. Anything else you want to tell me?
No, listening to you.
Perfect. Anything else you want to tell me?
I have nothing to say.
Good! See what I mean? Case dismissed.
This is case number 240 on the calendar in the matter of Noraki versus Scanlon. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Ms. Noraki, you are a daycare provider.
Yes.
And you were hired by the defendant to take care of one child, a boy.
Correct.
And it is your claim that when she removed her child from your daycare facility, under the circumstances described here, which you're going to explain to me in a minute, she filed a complaint against you with the state, causing you to lose business, and that the complaint that she filed was really slanderous and not true.
Right.
Is that right?
Yes.
Ms. Scanlon says she had every reason to file the complaint that she did, that she has witnessed things in your daycare center that were inappropriate, and that the way you acted with regard to her child was also inappropriate, right? When did you enroll your child in her facility?
I enrolled my son Robert the beginning of June of 2002.
For how many days a week?
3 days.
And how old is Robert?
He was at the time 20 months.
How did you find the plaintiff?
I called up a Suffolk County Child Care Council, and they referred me a bunch of names on a list, which I checked out a few names. Loretta's name was on the list, and I went to her house and interviewed her, and that's how I found her.
She takes care of children in her house?
Yes.
And you're a working mom?
Yes.
When did the problem occur?
Actually, I never had a problem with Lori, the way she ran her daycare. My son went right into her arms when I dropped him off, so I knew that he liked her. The only problem I had was when it came to money, and the problem started the week of her birthday. Her birthday was the day before the 4th of July, where she did inform me that she was taking that day off, that I would have to find somebody to watch my son. And when I dropped him off that day, I paid her for 2 out of the 3 days of the week.
You mean the day that Robert would actually be there?
I paid her for it.
And July 4th, which was a holiday.
Right.
Is that right?
Yes.
Why?
It's in my contracts.
Let me see. I want to see the signed one that she signed.
She never gave it to me.
I never
then you don't
signed
have it.
No.
Then you don't have it. So you don't
No.
have a contract with her.
No. She,
Shh, just a second. Second of all, paragraph 7 of this is inconsistent. And I'm going to tell you why it's inconsistent, because it says the provider, that's you, will be paid for the following holidays. And you have Memorial Day, Labor Day, Thanksgiving Day, and the day after, Christmas Day and the day after, New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. But you also have July 3rd and 4th. In what almanac is July 3rd a holiday?
It's not. It's the holidays I take.
Well, you know, you'd expect to be paid for those days.
Yes. When we sit down, when she came and I interviewed her, we go over this step by step.
I don't have a contract that she signed.
She
And I want
made
to tell
them
you,
for me.
and I want to tell you
She
something.
printed them up on
That's
her
the
computer.
dumbest thing that I ever heard, that your birthday is a paid holiday for a part-time worker. I mean, I have a son who thinks that his birthday is a national holiday. But, you know, I mean, we sort of joke about it. All right, so what happened when you left? You were very nice. You paid her $100 for 2 days, and your son was only going to be there 1 day that week, so that was very nice of you. She called and she said, you didn't give me enough money.
She called me screaming. She was very upset. She told me that none of her other parents give her problems like I do. Who am I to pay her when I feel like paying her? And she told me to come and pick my son up now.
So what did you do?
I called my mother because I couldn't leave my job at the time, and my mom immediately went over to pick up Robert.
That's not true at all.
Well, tell me what happened. You called her.
And I told her, before this, we've already had a discussion about money.
Why?
I get
What kind of
paid
a discussion?
A week before this, my husband was in the house, and she told me, Lori, do I have to pay you for your vacation in August? I said, yes, I get paid for my vacation in August. I've been doing this for 13 years. I've never had a parent argue with me over my vacation times. Everybody gets a vacation. I'm entitled to a vacation.
Not you.
Well,
You're not. You don't run a daycare service. You don't run a business. You take care of children in your home.
Yes, I do.
There's a difference. If you had a nursery school and you wanted to go away on vacation and you had other people working for you who were going to cover these children for the 2 or 3 days a week that they were there, that's fine. That's not what you do. When you're not taking care of them in your house and they're still working, they have to hire somebody else to take care of their children, so they're paying twice.
This is how
This is
how
what
I've
kind
run
of
it.
this is.
This is how I've run it for 13 years. I've never had a problem.
Well,
I've
now
never
you had a
problem.
problem.
Argue with me. I'm not suing her for the contract.
Now you have a problem.
Yes, I do. A big problem.
Because instead of waiting for her to come home to pick up her child that day, you were angry enough to call her at work.
Yes.
Now, if I were a parent and I had a 20-month-old baby that you were watching that day, and you couldn't control yourself sufficiently
I never
to
raised
wait
my voice.
until she came home to pick up her child and say, look, let's sit down and talk about this, but was so angry that you called her at work, even if you didn't tell her to come and pick up her baby, I would have come and pick up my baby. I would have been there in a second. I would have said, I'm not leaving my baby with her. She's mad at me. I don't know if she's going to take this out on my baby or not. She can't control herself sufficiently to wait till I get home. I'm not taking a chance. Now, we don't have a contract. She gave you an extra day's pay that you weren't entitled to for July 4th, but she was a nice person. You wanted your birthday, too. As far as I'm concerned, you wouldn't get it. Is that what you called the state about?
No, what I called the state about was how she reacted when my mother came to pick up my son and asked for my $100 back because she did not supply the service to me that I paid her for. I paid her at the beginning of the week to watch him for that day and for the holiday. So when my mother went to pick him up, she was standing at the door with him in her arms and the diaper bag, and my mother said to her, my daughter would like her $100 back.
Is that what she said to you?
Absolutely not.
What
First
happened?
of all,
Well, your mother's not here, so she can tell me.
Okay, first of all, she came up to my house fuming, banged on my door like she was going to knock it down. Walked into my house, told me to give her grandson. I said, he's all packed up, he's ready to go. I was just about to say, you know what, tell Stephanie to call me when she gets home. This is getting out of hand, this is ridiculous. For $50, this is ridiculous. When she called me an effing, she said, give me my daughter's $100, cursing. I said, let me tell you something, I have kids here, my daughters are here. She goes, yeah, I have cops in my family, you better keep an eye on those girls, meaning my daughters. Now I got frantic. I said, you know what, you need to leave. She goes, I'll leave when I'm ready to leave. I said, you need to leave now. I picked up the phone to call the police. She walked out of the house. Next thing I know, the state is at my door.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She also said that I pushed her mother down the stairs with her son in her arms.
From what my mother told me, she was a raving lunatic.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Daycare provider Loretta Naraki says former client Stephanie Sheindlin filed false charges with social services. Stephanie says she only told the truth.
Go ahead.
She didn't say about the money. She didn't say any of that. She said I was mistreating the kids.
Let me see the report.
She said I had people watch.
Just a second. Ms. Scanlon, did you report the plaintiff for anything other than what happened with your mother?
Absolutely.
Well, then what did you say?
Well, what I said was that in the few weeks that Robert was in her care, there were more than 2 children under the age of 2. In New York State, including your own child, you're not allowed to watch more than 2 at a time. So she had her child, Jalen, who was under 2, another child, who I won't say his name, and then my son Robert made the 3rd. So she was breaking the law right there.
Is that correct?
No, it's not correct. I watched 2 children under the age of 2. My daughter turned 2 in June.
When did you see more than 2
I saw
children?
Max and Tony 3 days a week.
Who's Max?
The 2 children, the brothers.
That's good. I didn't watch a child named Max.
Okay.
At all.
Well, I assume that they investigated that.
Yes,
what
they
else
did.
did you tell them?
And the second thing that I spoke to them about was there were a few times when I picked up my son or when I tried to call there that Lori wasn't there. The first time being on Robert's 2nd day, I called to see how he was adjusting, and Lori's husband answered the phone. And I said, oh, well, where's Lori? And he said, oh, she just dropped Nicholas off at school. I had called another time when her sister was in town, and her niece Sammy answered the phone, and Sammy said, oh, she's at the diner with her sister.
Okay, and I have a letter that Sam is allowed to work when I am not in the household. She's been fingerprinted, and she is also one of my workers. So she is allowed to be in the house anytime I am not in the house.
Yeah, but I pay you. I don't pay Sam.
It says in the contracts. If
Well,
I'm
I
not
don't
there.
contract.
Well,
nothing.
you made them. You made the contracts to me.
Shh, don't talk to each other.
Everybody in my household over the age of 18 has been fingerprinted and is allowed to be in the household with the children when I am not there.
Okay. Go ahead. What else?
Well, that was it. Those were the 2 things that I called.
She also said that I pushed her mother down the stairs with her son in her arms.
Well,
now,
that
I
doesn't
couldn't
say
get
that
this
here.
report. I know, I couldn't get this report because I had to write to Albany for it. They called Stephanie and asked her if she would release it, and she said no.
All I can tell you is I assume that all of these things were marked unfounded.
Unfounded.
Okay.
But when you call the child care council and ask for a referral, they will give you my name, and in this letter I'll show you that they have to, by state law, tell you that a file was claimed against, filed against me. I normally, in the month of June and in the month of August and September, interview 7 to 10 people for new slots opening up. I did not get one phone call over the summer. So my daycare is going to go down the drain because the way life is now, I would not leave my daughters with somebody, even if it was unfounded, I would not leave my daughters with somebody where a claim was filed against them. So I had to enroll myself, now taking away more time from my children, in school to take up another occupation, because now I have to go to work.
Now, if I'm leaving the children with you, my baby with you, unless I am on actual notice that they will be taken care of by someone else.
Which I tell them every morning when they drop the child off.
Just a second. No, you don't.
I do.
No, you don't.
Well, I have
Because
letters from all my other parents.
This is clearly somebody who would have said, well, I'd like to meet your husband. I'd like to meet Samantha.
She did.
I'd like to meet your husband. I'd like to meet Samantha if they're going to be taking care of my child. Did she tell you that other people would be taking care of your child?
Not taken care of. She did say that she had a helper that came in to help her, and every once in a while she would step out.
I did. And I introduced her to my
once in a
husband
while.
and Samantha.
But I have a list of 4 or 5 times in the 3-week period where she wasn't there, and that just wasn't acceptable to me.
Then you shouldn't have dropped him off that Tuesday morning. But you did because you continually told me how happy he was in my house.
And he was.
All right.
Now, that's what you said. Then my question to you is, if that's true, and that's what you said to me initially, Miss Scanlon, that your son went to her and but for this money problem that you seem to have with her, and I'm not saying that's without justification, I think that you were justified, but for that problem, you said your son was happy, so why did you register these complaints against her when your real problem was with money?
Well, when my mother went to go pick up my son, from what my mother told me, she was a raving lunatic. She did not push my mother down the stairs, and I never said that. She pushed my mother, and my mother lost her balance. But you don't shove a woman, an elderly woman, who has a child in her hands.
Well, I don't know if that happened. Is that what your mother told you?
That's what my mother told me.
Fine. So let's say you reported that.
Right. She
Why the other things?
She was acting crazy. She ran out to my mother's truck because my son had...
That had to do with your mother.
Okay.
Forget that.
All right.
The complaints that you made had to do with inadequate care.
Right.
So why did you throw that in as frosting on the cake?
Well, again, because of what my mother told me, how she acted.
And you didn't say that. You said, you talked about the fact that she wasn't there, that there was somebody by the name of Samantha who was there. Did you say anything about that there weren't proper railings or barriers from one floor to another?
No.
You talked about alternative providers, that you talked about. And you talked about the number of children she had that she was watching?
Yeah.
Okay, but none of that seemed to be a problem to you before the incident with your mother. So forget that, the incident with your mother. You talked about other things, and what I'm asking you is, why?
I didn't think she was fit to watch my child at that point.
Because?
She called for $50. She called me up.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Right.
There's no issue about that. I'm just asking you why you threw in these other things.
To be malicious.
I was upset.
But you ruined my life.
Just a second. Just a second. You were upset. That's honest. So that was frosting on the cake because you were upset. She had a perfect right to call up to complain about the incident with the money. In all probability, there would have been a complaint generated as a result of that incident anyway. But there would not have been any of this other stuff that I believe you did maliciously. And I think that that's wrong. Now, I don't know whether you can say because you did that, she lost business, because certainly I have inadequate proof of that. But certainly, there has to be a consequence, Ms. Scanlon, of attacking someone in their business or profession when you get agitated. And that's what happened. You were angry. And I'm not faulting you at all with calling and reporting. Now, I don't know.
I also have a check here she wrote me. I lost it. I found it while going through everything, and I was afraid to cash it because I was afraid she'd have me arrested or something.
Let me see.
She was off the walls, running crazy as it was. I didn't want to add insult to injury.
Well, she insisted on cash.
Yes, that's what it says in her...
And the first week of his care, I gave him a check, and she said, no, I want cash.
Yes.
So I said, okay, fine. You know what? I'll bring you cash. And I put a stop payment on the check. Yeah, that week was paid for.
I'm sure it was paid for.
No.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was paid for. Because if it wasn't paid for, and this was in June, she would have been on your back. That's what happened.
No, it's not what happened.
Oh, you want to tell me your version of what happened?
Yes, I lost the check. I lost it. Was I going to, tell her, write me another check? I lost the check. It was only the middle of June. She did all this July 3rd, July 2nd.
Did she pay you by cash every other time?
Every other time.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I figured I'd find the check and cash it. All right. I don't take care of other people's children. I love what I do. I do it for a reason, to support my kids. If I get no other business coming in, the children I have now will be going to kindergarten in September. So I've just lost an entire business. I worked 13 years to get the reputation. I have letters from every single parent I worked for.
Then those parents should be able to
refer me.
Refer people to you.
Absolutely.
And Miss Sheindlin, I believe that Miss Sheindlin has to understand that she has to be much more careful. She has an absolute right to, if she has pure motives, and her motives were pure, to call up and say, she reacted very, very badly when we had a dispute over money. She reacted unprofessionally. I want to report her unprofessional behavior. But I believe that with regard to the other complaints that she made about you, they were made with a malicious intent. And for that, I am awarding you $1,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. This is case number 80. Yeah, this is case number 112 on the calendar in the matter of Moore versus Hightower.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat.
Ms. Moore, you and the defendant had dated, and according to your complaint, you made loans to him. One large loan for his mortgage, and then some small loans for credit card charges. Mr. Hightower indicates that you did pay this money, but there was never a loan agreement and never an agreement to repay you. Is that right, sir?
Yes, sir.
When did you start to date the defendant?
Several months after my son was murdered.
When was that?
March of 2000. Probably about 3 or 4 months after that.
What was the first loan for and when?
In July of 2000, Donald showed me a letter that, the mortgage company had wrote, which showed that they were going to foreclose on his house.
I'd like to see the letter. Now, where were you when he showed you that letter?
At his house.
Were you living with him at the time?
No.
I want you to tell me the exact scenario that came about when he showed you this letter.
Can I kind of tell you what led up to this, my frame of mind? Yeah.
No. I don't want to know about your frame of mind. What I want to know about is the conversation, where you were. It's clear if you were dating him, then you liked him.
Right.
Also, based upon what you told me, what happened to your son in March, you were vulnerable, you were feeling slightly depressed. I understand that. However, this is still a situation where we have to deal with whether this was a loan or not a loan.
Okay.
So I want you to tell me where you were seated in the house, what the conversation was that led up to him showing you this letter.
Okay. I was sitting in the lazy boy chair, and he had all his bills right there, and he showed me the letter.
I mean, he just took this letter and said, take a look at this?
Everything was sitting right there, and he showed me this letter, because we were talking about how he couldn't, afford to, take me out to dinner, and, he felt bad about it.
It was in that context that he showed you this letter, I can't afford to go out to dinner or whatever because I have all these bills.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I had a lot of money at the time because of the life insurance policy from my son's death. And I felt really bad, because, he has these 2 wonderful children. One, she has Down syndrome, and she is a sweetheart. She's just so full of life. And I just couldn't see these children, August 4th, they were going to foreclose on the house, and where were they going to go? I felt terrible. And I'm trying to be a fixer-upper. I was trying to help them fix the situation. I know that I get a lot of money back from my taxes just claiming one child. So I knew when he gets his taxes back, I mean, he'll get $3,000 or $4,000, probably more than I do. And in order for me to negotiate with this Equicorp, place, I called, them up and I said, well, what can we do to get this, straightened out? And they said, well, this amount of money needs to be mailed. So in order to, get him above water, I went and paid $4,500 towards it.
You have proof of that?
Yes, I do. This is a copy of the money order and the original.
Okay. Now after that, what did he say to you?
I'm trying to remember. This was a couple of years ago.
Well, you have to remember.
Your Honor, may I answer that?
No, not yet.
Well, he told me that he had other bills, and that wasn't really going to get him out of, hot water because he was behind on all these credit cards. I mean, he had the banks, calling him constantly. He didn't like to answer the phone because of that. He said, well, I can't pay you back right away. And I said, I know. I said, I don't need the money right now. I have the money right now. I said, but, when you get your taxes back, I mean, just go ahead, and give me some money. And you don't have to give me the whole thing. I said, the next year, which was this year right here, give me the rest of the money, and that'll be that. And I said, you don't even have to pay me back the whole thing. It was over $7,000 is what it was. And I said, well, if you'll just make sure you pay me, I'll accept the $4,000.
So you agreed that he would pay you back $4,000?
Not at that time. This was later.
So at that time you didn't talk about him repaying you the money?
Oh, we did. We did, with his taxes, but we didn't negotiate a figure.
Okay. Well, when did you negotiate a figure?
February. I had wrote a letter to him, February 5th, which is right about tax time.
Could I see the letter, please?
And I was like, something was better than nothing.
Would you show this letter to the defendant, please? You recall receiving that letter, Mr. Hightower?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Good, thank you. When you received that letter, Mr. Hightower, what did you do?
I read it.
And after you read it, what did you do with it?
Tore it up and threw it in the trash.
Why?
Because when she did this, I told her not to do it because at the time, I was going through the separation and divorce, also going through a custody hearing. I told her that I not know when I'd ever be able to pay her back.
Are you still living in the house that she...
No, ma'am.
Who got the house?
It's been put on a lot for sale now. I moved out the end of February of this year.
Why?
They foreclosed on it in December.
How many months did you live there after summer of 2000?
I moved out of it February of 2002 of this year.
Oh, so her money helped you stay in that home?
I guess, but also too my
What do you
lawyer.
mean you guess?
My lawyer also helped. My attorney knew what was going on. My
You had a
attorney
lawyer?
helped me. Yes, ma'am. When I was going
Lawyer
through
for the custody case?
custody,
And the
separation, and
divorce?
divorce, yes.
Did you pay your lawyer?
Yes, ma'am.
How much did you pay your lawyer?
$1,500.
Do you still owe your lawyer?
No, ma'am.
So you took this letter and you threw it in the garbage?
Yes, ma'am.
That's a lot of nerve. You mean you didn't even answer her?
Ma'am, also, too, you got to realize a lot of things going on with her. One time she broke in my house just to show her brother my home through the kitchen and come back bragging about it.
So what?
The next time she went through my mail, took a credit card out of my mailbox.
Stop complaining. I'm asking you a question, sir. You get this letter, you don't respond to it, you take it and you throw it in the garbage. And then what you do is you justify those actions by little petty irritations. I'm asking you, if you couldn't give her back any money, and she clearly expected money over a year ago, why didn't you call her or write her a letter and say, I'm really suffering financially right now?
She knew I was.
How did she know?
She knew how I was.
What do you mean she knew? Were you in communication with her?
She knew that I was trying to raise 2 kids by myself.
Did you get custody of your children?
Yes, ma'am.
Then I suggest that you try to teach your children, Mr. Hightower, what being a person of good character is. You know, just because you're a warm body doesn't mean you're a father. Anything can be a father. Dogs are fathers, cats are fathers, fish are fathers. In order to be a father, a human being father, you're supposed to try to teach your children to have a good moral character. Somebody was nice to you. And what you do is you take the letter, you throw it in the garbage without even a response?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Do you think there's a difference between going through a separation and a divorce and having one of your children suddenly taken from you?
Both of them are very emotional.
One you can cure, one you can't.
And later today,
I was not that close to her. She sped up to go around me.
She's trying to get away from you. If she sped up, she would have hit you straight on. Duh.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Patty Lynn Moore says ex-boyfriend Donald Hightower owes for a loan to keep his home out of foreclosure. Donald says he told Patty Lynn he could never pay her back.
After you loaned him this money, Ms. Moore, how long after that did you stop seeing him socially?
Almost immediately.
And who terminated the relationship?
He did.
Tell me about it.
He didn't see that there was any, he didn't think that we would be able to have a relationship at the time. I was drinking some at the time. No excuse, but...
That's honest.
Alcohol is no place in any relationship, nor is it in anybody's life. It's like a disease. It just ruins.
Are you okay now?
Yeah, as far as the drinking, like I said, just bringing up this emotional stuff, I don't think, you don't ever get over the grieving, I mean, you deal with it, through grievance counseling, but you don't never get over the loss of a child. And I just...
How old was your son?
22. I got the newspaper article.
Mr. Hightower.
Yes, ma'am.
How many children did Miss Moore have?
She had her daughter and her son that she told me about.
And she told you about the son as soon as you met her?
Yes, ma'am.
So you knew that shortly before this business with your home, she had suffered a loss and she had some money.
I didn't know she had any money. I never asked her.
Fine. So let's say you didn't know she had any money, but you knew she had suffered a loss.
Yes, ma'am, and I was sorry that happened.
And you were going through a great deal of turmoil in your life.
Yes, ma'am.
But none of your children died.
No, ma'am.
You think there's a difference between going through a separation and a divorce and having one of your children suddenly taken from you? You think there's a difference? You think there's a difference?
Both of them are very emotional.
Yeah. One you can cure, one you can't. And what I find most obnoxious about your behavior, sir, is that you didn't even bother to respond to this letter. You read it, you tore it up, and you threw it in the garbage because you were going through a great deal of stuff on your own. That's what you told me. Good character is what you're supposed to teach your children. If you don't have it, and they don't give classes for it, can't read a book on it, at least once in a while somebody is going to tell you when you have lousy character. You understand each other? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,400. Thank you, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She wants everybody to play her on her sympathy.
There's nothing in this world worse than losing a child.
She's just trying to rule people's lives with her own.
I have the right to grieve.
She was just trying to steal my identity.
I don't think he has any identity.
I best just get rid of him, get on with my life.
When a loser is a loser, you're a loser. Why would I want to take the identity of a loser?
Case number 118 on the calendar in the matter of Stutz versus Bailey. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
This case is like a mini-series. Mr. Stutz, you and the defendant lived together for a long time, and there are lots of pieces to your claims, because I have a claim, I have a counterclaim. The main part of the case is about a van that you claim is yours, that after you broke up, you had impounded. So now the van is in impound someplace. Is that right, sir?
Yes, it's in the storage.
And you want the defendant to give you the title to the van so you could have your van out of storage. The defendant says it's her van, and she wants the van. Then you claim that she has some jewelry that belongs to you. She says she has one piece of jewelry that belongs to you that she's prepared to give back to you. And what is that, madam?
The ring his father had made for him.
Can I see it, Bird, please?
Sure.
So let's take care of the simple things first. Okay. Is this your father's ring, sir?
I can't see that far.
You can't see that far. I can see up close.
Yes, it looks like it.
Now you have it back.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Easy.
Thank you.
Now let's deal with the other easy part of this case. You were engaged to be married,
That's true.
and you gave her an engagement ring.
Yes.
And how much did you pay for this engagement ring?
Approximately $1,300.
You have the receipt?
No, I don't have the receipts. She has all the receipts to them. We had a joint checking account at the time. My mom left me a bunch of money, and I put it into account because I couldn't have a checking account. And so she paid for it, which was my money that was in the account. She paid for it with check. All the money that was put into the account was what my mother had left me. My mom left me approximately like $48,000, and it was all my money that was in that account. She had nothing.
Yes. I took care of his mother. She was dying of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Yes.
How long did you take care of his mother? About 6 or 7 months.
Yes, she took care of my mother. My sister made her a deal. Paid her so much money a week, room and board. During the time she was there taking care of my mother, my mom still took care of her family, helped her mother out.
All right.
And
Let me
everything.
just a second. So what you're telling me is she wrote out the check for her own engagement ring.
Yeah, with my money.
Was it his money that paid for the engagement ring?
Yes, he put the money into the checking account,
All right.
and it was
Fine.
$1,000.
So it's his?
It was $1,000.
$1,000. Where's the ring?
It got stolen along with my VCR and some other stuff of mine.
When?
I'm not exactly sure. It was in my girlfriend's car.
Did you file a police report?
No.
Why not?
Because I had to have her. It was in her car.
So what? If the property was stolen out of the car, why didn't you file a police report?
Well, I didn't find out about it until later.
I
and
don't
couldn't
believe
get
you.
Well, it's true.
Oh, I don't believe you. How's that? You don't keep an engagement ring in a car.
No, she had my bags and stuff.
Did she have insurance?
No.
And if she didn't have insurance, then you file a police report. Then you say to me, here's the police report. I listed it as an item that was stolen, and therefore I have some proof that it was stolen. So right now, sir, you're ahead of the game by $1,000.
Thank you.
On your claim. Now tell me about the van.
Okay, I bought, my mom left me money, and she had 3 wishes for me. One, okay, well, I bought this van on approximately October, when I got a big check from my mom's inheritance that she left me. And she was supposed to go register the van as me as legal owner and her as registered owner.
Why did she do that?
For insurance purposes.
Why? What's wrong with you?
My record isn't very good that
Why?
way. Because I had a couple tickets at the time.
What else, sir?
And that's it. Just
The van.
tickets.
So you put the van in her name?
No, it was never finished in her name. What it was, she was supposed to go take it down there, and then when she left, after a big heated argument, she took the van, and just left. The next day I go down to the DMV to find out what's up. They tell me that she's trying to put this in her name. And so I says, wait a minute here, so the DMV puts a stop on it. And as my witness will tell you, he's seen the money exchange at the time.
How much did you pay for the van?
I paid approximately $3,300 for it.
Oh, okay. Now, what's your story about the van?
For one, he wasn't there.
Just tell me what your story is about the van.
Okay, when we were waiting for the house to go through probate, he lost his job. We needed money to pay the rent, and we sold the Volkswagen van so we could pay rent. And he said that he would buy me another van, and he was going to buy a truck. And he
All
said...
right, so you sold his car in order to pay the rent?
No, he gave it to me, and he kept saying, it's up to you, it's your van. If you want to sell it. I said, well, we need to pay our bills.
All right, let's go. Let's go. So now we went and bought the van. He bought the van with his money, is that right?
Yes.
Is that van titled now? Is there?
No, it's not. It's right
It's
through
not
the middle of it all.
complete, but I have the paperwork here.
Good. Can I have it, please?
And then there's some
I'll
other
just give
jewelry
her
that's
all the
involved, too.
paperwork.
That's it. That's it.
And Your Honor?
What?
Can I say something else?
What?
When I went to the DMV to finish the paperwork, and the police came and said that it was on the hot sheet, I said, yes, I reported it stolen because it was stolen from behind my apartment.
How long did you people live together?
Off and on for like 15, 16 years. When my mom died, I tried to make it work, and it just wouldn't work. I was tired of taking care of her and her family. We went through a bundle of money, and like 3 months, we went through a lot of money.
And I don't have any indication that he made a gift of this van to you. He bought it, he paid for it, and shortly after you got it, you took off.
When I left, Your Honor, he said for me to sign off on the RV, and he wouldn't give me any problems about the van.
That's baloney.
Oh, just 1 second, just 1 second. Hold on a second. Oh, here we... Hold on a second.
He was there.
Yeah.
He was there.
Hold on a second. You bought an RV?
I bought this RV at the beginning of when my mom gave me a first $10,000 check. I bought an RV to live in because my mom, when she in her dying bed, said to buy this so you make sure you have something to live in.
Just a second. What year was that?
2000.
And at that point, you'd been together with her 13 or 14
No,
years?
we really weren't together off and on. What happened
What does
was
that mean?
we got back together when she was taking care of my
When
mother.
he needed help.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
and she got paid for it. I even
Okay,
took her to
just 1
Mexico on a
second.
cruise.
So before that, you weren't living together?
No, we only actually lived together after my mom died for 10 months or something like that. A relationship was just like that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He almost killed me when his mother was alive, and I told him if he laid a hand on me that I would leave.
I haven't touched you in over 10 years.
Listen to me. I'm not interested. Get over it.
And later today,
Have you ever known her to be psychiatrically hospitalized?
Yes.
How many times was she in a psychiatric hospital?
I really couldn't tell you because I'm so used to being incarcerated, so I couldn't tell you.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Merle Stutt says his former longtime girlfriend, Leylon Bailey, owes for the return of his van and the return of jewelry. Leylon says Merle has her belongings too.
Listen to me. Give him the title to his van.
Your Honor, he was there.
I don't care. He paid for the van. It's his van. He was stupid to say, go put it in your, you put it in your name.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
No, he told
quiet.
me to.
Quiet. We don't have a long-standing living together for 15 or 16 years. You've known each other 15 or 16 years. You actually lived together for 10 months after his mother died.
We lived together before, and he almost killed me when his mother was alive, and I told him if he laid a hand on me that I would leave.
Then why did you
I
go
haven't
back?
touched you in over 10 years.
Then why'd you go back?
In the RV.
Listen to me. I'm not interested. Get over it. Get over it. You cared for her enough to give her an engagement ring, right?
Yes,
Oh.
at the time,
And he
yes.
bought me the van.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right.
yes, I'm agreeing with that.
Fine. And you get $1,000 for that because I don't believe her story for a second that it got stolen out of a car with a lot of other stuff without filing a police report because somebody has property that's stolen. You call the police and you say, this car was broken into and all my property was stolen. That's what a normal person does. All right. Now, you say that he has some of your personal property. What does he have of your personal property?
My microwave oven that my girlfriend gave to me.
Yeah.
He tried to give me an old broken down one.
Yeah.
And
What else?
my brass
Stop it.
collection, my angel collection.
What else?
Some clothes.
You have her angel collection.
She can have it all.
Sure.
She can
I
have it
want
all.
you to just pay attention to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have her angel collection?
Yes, it's in storage, and I'll give it back to her. So no
Pack
problem
it
at all.
nicely and give it back to her.
Yes.
Do you have a microwave that she had?
No.
Nothing else?
The microwave was given to both of
Listen
us to
to
put
me.
in a motorhome.
Anything else other than her angel collection?
I'll give her everything. I don't want none of her stuff.
What else do you have? I need to itemize it.
My mom gave her a rocking chair, which she can have, and the angel
And my sewing machine.
and the sewing machine. She can have that too.
What
Yeah,
else?
that's
So let's
all I
make it
took.
clear.
Okay.
Listen. The two of you, stop moving around so much. You're making me nervous. Angel collection, sewing machine, and a rocking chair. What else do you have, sir?
That's all. I don't know if the sewing machine and the rocking chair is in the garage because I went in there and she'd already been in the garage taking stuff out of it.
Do
so
you
we
have
have to
the
ask her if she
sewing
took
machine?
it. or not.
Yes, I got the sewing machine.
And what about the rocking chair?
I got the rocking chair. but-
Fine. So what we're talking about is an angel collection. 5 days from today, you make sure she gets
Oh, yeah, yeah, I will.
That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
The only reason I left was because he hit me, and I told him if he got physically abusive with me again, oh
never
yeah,
touched
you
you.
never tried to kill me, huh?
I took her to Mexico, spent money on her, bought her clothes.
He almost killed me when his
But long.
mother was alive.
Giving her family money, taking care of everybody. And I just got tired of it.
If they've been physically abusive once, they'll never change.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Mason Wilson versus Wilson. Step forward, please.
Thomas Mason and his fiancée, Joanne Wilson, are suing Joanne's son, 21-year-old fast food worker Jesse Wilson. Joanne says during an argument, Jesse assaulted her.
You're Miss Wilson.
Yes.
Is that right? And this is your boyfriend. His name is Mason.
Yes, that's correct.
And this is your son.
Yes.
And it is your claim that your son assaulted you, which resulted in your hospitalization. You want him to pay for any unreimbursed medical costs that you had, as well as for something for pain and suffering. I don't know what Mr. Mason is doing here unless he paid some of the bills. Did you, sir?
I paid them, Your Honor,
You
yes.
paid them. You paid them, that's why you're here. Your son says that he didn't assault you, that you fell over a table because you were drunk. Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When did this incident occur?
January 15th. Yeah.
Where?
In my house.
Who was at home?
I was at home. He was there. In fact, he was leaving that day.
Who was he?
My son. And
Leaving permanently?
Yeah.
Why?
He was moving out.
Why?
Well, he thought $25 a week was too much. He said he should pay nothing to live with me.
How old is he?
He's 21.
Go ahead. So what
So
happened?
we got into argument that night, and
What did you get into an argument about?
miscellaneous things, and I quite don't remember. I remember falling, and I remember him picking me up, and he was saying sorry to me. He said, "Ma, I'm sorry," and he put me on the couch. After that, I don't remember nothing. except when going to the hospital. They had to put the thing around my neck. They had me in a board, and then they had to rush me from that hospital to another hospital.
The only thing you remember is him picking you up,
Yeah.
saying...
I remember him saying, "Ma, I'm sorry." He picked me up and put me on the couch. And then I woke up later on, and my boyfriend came later that night, and he made me go to the hospital. I wasn't going to the hospital. I was dizzy and everything, but I told him I would be fine. And he told me, no, I think you better go to the hospital. Something don't look right.
Had you been drinking?
Yeah, I had been drinking.
How much?
I had maybe a half a pint that night.
Half a pint of what?
Rum.
What time did you start drinking?
It was about 6, 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock that night.
Do you drink every night?
No.
How often do you drink?
I drink on a weekend, occasionally on weekends.
You have a drinking problem?
No.
You have anything to drink today?
No.
All right, Mr. Wilson. Your mother says that you said sorry. You want to tell me what happened?
I had came home from work at the time of the day of my birthday, and
This was your birthday?
Yes, my birthday. I had came home, right, and she was drunk because I smelled it on her breath. Me and her got into an argument over how stuff was going in the house. I told her I have no, like me. Sometimes I might leave something around the house, something like a cup or a plate or something. I understand. Sometimes I do intend to forget stuff, but I always do what I have to do in the house, you know. And when she kicked me out, I was getting all my belongings, and she had grabbed me.
Where did she grab you?
She grabbed me in my left arm, and when I told her, "Can you get off me?" she did not want to let go. And when I took my arm like that to get her off me, she had fell back and lost her balance.
You didn't hit her, did you?
No, I would never assault my mother.
You never put your hands on her?
No.
Well, she doesn't remember what happened. All she remembers is falling, and you saying you're sorry. So what are we doing here? Mr. Mason, what are we doing here, sir?
Well, Your Honor, this has been going on for quite a while. It isn't just the first time. He broke a window once before in the house because he got mad.
But
I have bills here, and I have the original letter that I wrote to him, gave him plenty of time. All I was looking for was my original amount of money that I put out.
For what?
For the expenses of what it costs to take her to the hospital.
Just a minute. There's no proof he assaulted her, sir.
Well, I had asked her what happened when I came home. She called up this friend of mine. I was at his house, and I came home. She had told me what happened, that Jesse had pushed her, and I said, you best you go to the hospital to get checked out. We went to one hospital, and they needed better equipment. They had to transfer her to another hospital, and they weren't sure if she would be paralyzed from the neck down or not. And like I said, it's not a question of just now. It's been a question of a problem when the $25 a week that he's paying rent. We're going to get television, the telephone, the whole thing over here for $25 a week. And then he wanted to live for nothing.
How long have the two of you been living together?
Over 2.5 years.
And whose house is it?
It's her apartment.
It's her apartment?
Yeah.
And he's not
So
on the lease.
just a second. So you're living in her apartment?
Half and half, Your Honor. I have my own apartment right around the corner.
What do you mean half and half?
I stay sometimes, a lot of times. I stay on the average 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks at a time.
Listen to me. It's none of your business.
Okay?
This is between Miss Wilson and her son. Has nothing to do with you. Nothing. As far as I'm concerned, Miss Wilson shouldn't be here with her son today. She had a little too much to drink, and if she got into even a shoving match with her son and she fell, that's unfortunate. Probably was tipsy to begin with and fell. She shouldn't be fighting with her son. She shouldn't be fighting with her son on his birthday. And you shouldn't pour salt in the wound because you're not family. You don't precipitate coming to court when you're not even related. Precipitate a mother for bringing a lawsuit against her child. That doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't let anybody pressure you into bringing a lawsuit against your son, which you probably wouldn't have done on your own.
No, but I think he deserves it, especially when he busted my window. I wasn't even supposed to let him live with me. Housing don't want him there because he got kicked out of his sister's house because of the same problem.
Miss Wilson, let me tell you something. I'm not giving him any stars for good behavior.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how long you've been drinking,
Mm-hmm.
but I would guess, based upon my experience in the courts that you've been drinking a long time. Long time.
Okay.
That's not the way to bring up a child. So if you have a child that is troubled at age 20, you look to yourself and say, what did I do as a mother? Was I drinking most of the time? Was I doing the right thing most of the time? And if you were not, you don't precipitate a lawsuit because you set zero example for him. Just want you to think about that. Your lawsuit's dismissed.
On the count.
She's a crazy lady.
Pretty faces and money don't mix.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Gilbraith versus Brown. Step forward.
30-year-old electrician Steve Gilbraith is suing his ex-wife, 30-year-old food care supervisor Kristen Brown, for an insurance settlement she received when their marital home burned down.
Mr. Gilbraith, you and the defendant had been married.
Yes, ma'am.
You are now divorced.
Yes, ma'am.
Your claim has to do with some property that was in the marital home. The marital home was destroyed by fire. The defendant was reimbursed for losses in that fire by insurance, and you want to be paid for the stuff that was in the house that belonged to you.
That is correct, ma'am.
Okay. So now I need some dates from you, sir. When were you and the defendant married?
We were married October 7th, 1989, divorced October...
Sure, just a second. I'll ask the questions. When did you separate?
Late 97, 98.
Do you remember the month?
I believe it was in January.
Of 1998. And when you separated, you were living in the home that burned down?
At the time, yes, and then I was asked to move out.
No, just a second. Just answer the question. Don't volunteer. Never volunteer. At the time that you separated, you were living in the house that burned down.
Yes.
The divorce became final when?
On October 29th, 99.
Almost 2 years after you had separated.
Yes.
And 1 month later, the house burned down.
That is correct.
After the final divorce.
That is correct.
Now, what property do you claim, sir, was left in the house when you moved out in January of 1998?
They were personal belongings of mine that the defendant had agreed that I could keep there.
You're volunteering information again. I said, what property did you leave in the house?
This is a list of everything, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Galbraith, between January of 1998 and the time of the divorce in October of 1999, had you gone back to the house at all for any of your property?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
What property did you go back for?
Mainly at the time, it was my personal clothing and stuff like that. Things that I had left there were items that I was actually working on remodeling my son's room in the house, my tools and stuff like that. The majority of what I took out was my personal clothing at the time.
Now, I see a large document in there. Is that your judgment of divorce?
I have my the degree of disillusion here also.
I'd like to take a look at it. This says that at the time of your divorce, you and your wife had allocated all property that belonged to each of you.
That's correct.
And your judgment of divorce says that at the time of this agreement, you have decided whose property belongs to whom, and whoever has physical possession of that property now is the owner of that property. Did you know that?
Yes, ma'am.
The husband and wife agree that each party shall retain as his or her own, free and clear of any claims of the other party, all items of household goods and furnishings presently in his or her possession. That's what it says. So, at the time that the house burned down, sir, all the property in her possession was hers.
The power tools that were in the house I was using to, like I say, to remodel my son's house. Those are tools I use every day on my job. The items that was in there were items that we, her and myself, had agreed verbally that she would allow me to keep there.
Then you put it in this agreement. Did you have an attorney?
At the time, no.
Should have. You signed this.
As I said before, we had a dissolution, and it was an agreement between us in the best interest of our children to keep everything. We've been friends for over 20 years. We tried to keep it in the most friendly possible way we could.
That's fine. What I'm saying to you, Mr. Gilbraith, is that you keep it as friendly as possible. But when you outline in an agreement all other property, you talk about the house, you talk about the car, your truck, it names the truck, it names the year of the truck, the make of the truck, the model of the truck that you're going to keep. It talks about the car that she's going to keep, that she's going to keep up the insurance. You have to do certain deed transactions. It talks about all of those things. And then it talks about personal property. And if you had any personal property in that home, you'd just as easily say, listen, we have to put in another paragraph and list all this property that I have in the home that belongs to me. That's very easy. Didn't anybody tell you that, sir? Am I the first person who's told you that?
No, ma'am. As I said, I assumed being friends that we were, that I could take her on her word.
Did you give him your word that this was all of his property?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
This list, which was made April of 2001, well after the fire.
That's how long it took me to get all of the records and inventory from the insurance company.
It may be, sir. But you had no insurable interest in the property as of the date of your divorce. Because as of the date of this divorce, you were not the owner of any property that was in her possession. It's a simple legal matter, unless she acknowledges that she was merely holding this property for you. You acknowledge that?
No, ma'am.
However, she knows the tools that were in my son's room and all my stuff that was there in that room was being done for her in regards to the remodel of that home, which I had promised I would finish. Unfortunately, a fire happened in the home before that.
That may be. But you're not suing under that theory that you were a workman doing renovation in the house. Your tools were there when it burned down, and therefore those tools should be covered by her insurance.
It also says in my agreement any inheritant material that was in the house was also mine.
You're talking about under miscellaneous?
Yes, I had things that were given to me by my deceased mother and etc.
Mr. Gilbraith, don't pull my leg. Okay. The section that you're reading says the parties agree that each shall retain as his or her own, free and clear of any claims of the other, all items of clothing and personal effects presently in his or her possession. The parties further acknowledge and agree that neither party shall have any enforcement rights to the other's inheritance or expectancies, and all future inheritances and expectancies shall remain the property of the inheritor, which means that if somebody dies in your family and leaves you money or property, she cannot claim any of that property. That has nothing to do with your power tools.
No, it has to do with quilts that were made by my mother and my grandmother.
You should have gotten them out before 2 years. Those were not power tools. You don't redo your son's room with quilts.
No, but that's things that she had stored.
Mr. Galbraith, this is a very simple case. You were divorced. At the time of your divorce, the judgment's divorce said all property that you each have in your individual possession belongs to each of you individually, free and clear of any claims by the other. You had the opportunity at the time of the divorce to include this list as property that was in the house that you intended to get back, that it was an agreement with the defendant that you would get back.
She knew
Very simple. I said including in the judgment of divorce. You did not do that. If you did not do that, you had no interest in any property in her home. Your case is dismissed.
And now the next case.
All parties on Turner versus Turner. Step forward, please.
40-year-old marketing director Carmela Turner is suing her ex-husband, 40-year-old personal trainer Daryl Turner, for pawning her karaoke speakers.
Ms. Turner, were you ever married to the defendant?
I was married at one point to this defendant.
When?
We were married October 2nd, 1994.
And divorced when?
June 28th of this year.
But you've been together for a longer period of time than that, is that right?
Yes, we have.
Since when?
Since 1991.
Do you have any children?
Yes, we do. We have one son, Andre, and one son, Daryl Turner, the second.
Either one of these children?
Daryl. Little.
Little one?
Yes.
Who are these two children?
These are two of my boys from a previous marriage.
Okay. Is there any reason that these boys have to be here?
Michael actually was our sound person that...
I don't need the information about that. That has nothing to do with this case.
Okay.
Why don't you boys go outside, please? They can find their way, Bert.
Okay.
I don't see why children have to be involved with this. Okay. Not a very difficult case. Mr. Turner, according to your former wife's complaint, she was given by the state some sound equipment in order to help her build up some sort of a business. And that business was the karaoke business, and you would do shows and events and things. Is that right?
That's right.
You worked in it together.
That's right.
The speakers were part of the equipment that was given to you.
Yes.
Because you have some sort of a disability?
Right.
And according to you, you also contributed to the business. The kids were involved, and you did some events over a period of how many years?
3.
And then there came a time, Mr. Turner, that according to you, you needed some money.
We needed money.
According to you, you needed some money, which is what you say in your answer.
Okay.
And so you pawned 4 of the speakers.
Correct.
When did you do that?
Right before May.
Of this year?
Of this year.
Right before your divorce?
Well, right around then. Shortly before then.
Well, were you living together at the time you were going through a divorce?
Yeah, well, the divorce came prior to some things that was going on that led up to the divorce.
Well, usually people don't get divorced in 1 month. So were you actually living in the house?
Yes.
And within a month, a divorce became final? What are you shaking your head? He's not making sense to me.
Me either.
Okay. Were you living together in May of 2000 when he pawned these 4 speakers?
Okay, he pawned the speakers in February. He did not pawn them in May, he pawned them in February.
Does that sound?
That sounds about right.
Okay. And when did he move out of the house?
He started preparing to move out right around May 1st, and he moved out, actually physically out, May 23rd.
Now, did you agree that he should pawn these speakers in February?
No, I didn't, not initially.
What do you mean not initially?
The pawning was done prior to me coming home. Now, after he did tell me about it and told me why he did it, and he told me that he would get the speakers back before our next show.
Does that sound right?
Some of it.
No, does that sound right? That you went and you pawned the speakers, and then you told her that you had pawned the speakers, but that you would get them back before the next show?
Some of it.
Okay. Tell me what's not right.
I pawned them without her knowledge because we had an upcoming event. The event we were going to be performing at had their own equipment. We needed some new material. That's the reason why I did it, so we can get the material that we needed for that event. I did inform her of it as soon as she got home.
Okay. How much did you get for the speakers?
Oh, I think about $400.
You have the ticket?
No, I don't.
Mm-hmm. You never got the speakers back?
No, I didn't.
Why?
We separated, and I wanted 2 of the speakers. She refused to give me 2 of the speakers, so I didn't feel that I needed to get them out of the pawn shop. So I didn't want her to have all of them, so I left them there.
Well, you can't do that, Mr. Turner.
Well, there's a reason why I did it.
I'm listening to your reason.
The reason why I did it is when I left the city I was in to go to resign in another city, as soon as I got there, the sheriffs were waiting for me, which she had called. They threw me up against the fence, handcuffed me. My little 4-year-old was with me. He was crying hysterically. Then they had to take him back halfway to Bakersfield by himself. This is about 10:30 at night. By himself. Then I was humiliated in the local newspaper as being a child abductor. All this stuff went on. Now, she kept all the microphones, all the lights, everything to the show. Everything, all the furniture. All I wanted was just 2 of the monitors. So
but she had been given those, sir, by the state.
Well, we were married, and when you're married, usually there's what they call a common, I forget the term that was used.
Community property is what you're talking about.
Okay, right, exactly. Community property.
Community property, sir, contemplates that married people contribute the same, some with time, some with money, some with a combination of time and money and caregiving, etc. So community property means that each of you has contributed a certain amount to the physical things in a marriage, the televisions, the sofas, the table, and the chairs, etc. When the state, through a vocational rehabilitation project, gives equipment to someone who is disabled in some way, that does not become community property. Ever. Do you understand?
I do.
It would be, sir, listen to me, it would be like you saying to me, the state gave my wife a wheelchair. When I left, I took half of it because it's community property. The state gives her a wheelchair or a respirator to breathe on. That does not become community property. These speakers represent the same kind of thing because they were given to her. She did not pay for them. You did not pay for them. They were sort of a gift, an investment by the state to see if she could in some way earn a living. So you had no right to pawn the speakers. Period. End of discussion. But I don't know what you want. I don't know what it costs to replace the speakers.
brought
They
that.
use speakers. Well, what does it cost to replace them?
When they were purchased, they were brand new, and I did bring you receipts, and I also brought you the paperwork saying that they were, you know, for me to become a sole proprietor. What I did, they had to be replaced. We can't work without them. We'll get our microphones and the amplifiers if there are no speakers. I was able to go online, and I actually found them a little less expensive than what they paid for them. And they were new when they paid for them, and they're also new now. And here are the receipts for that.
Did you buy them, or did you?
I've ordered them.
You've ordered them?
Yes, and they've charged my credit card. And the proof is on there about the charging of the credit card.
Okay. So the total is $1,466?
Right.
And that's for
Can I say something?
2 speakers?
4, actually.
4 speakers.
2 monitors and 2 speakers. And on the front
Well,
of the
did he also take the monitors?
Yeah, it was 4 total. It was 2 speakers and 2 monitors. And on the front, it shows the pictures of them.
Yeah, what do you want to tell me, sir? Fast.
Now, the speakers were heard, but the microphones, the lights, the fog machines, we have more than just speakers. There's other equipment that I bought. She got that stuff still.
Just a minute. That's part of your divorce, sir. That's part of your divorce. If you purchased it with your money...
Shouldn't I be entitled to get it?
You should have asked for it in the divorce, sir.
I did.
And was it given to you?
No.
Well, then, what do I have to listen to it for? So what I'm telling you is, certain things are community property, certain things are individual property. These items that were given to her by the state are her single property. They were not given to you as a couple. In this case, if you decided to let that other equipment go in your divorce, that is your problem. This you cannot do. You cannot take property that is not yours and sell it, which is exactly what you did, and you have to pay for it. $1,466.29 is what it cost to replace it.
Your Honor.
What?
Okay, when he did do that back, you know, in February, there was a show coming up.
I heard that you put in a deposit and you couldn't do it. You
No,
should
it
have
wasn't
rented equipment. I don't want to hear anything
It wasn't
about
a
that.
deposit. I had to pay the whole thing. It's right here.
No. You're not paying attention. You paid the whole thing, and what I said was, then if you didn't have these speakers, you should have rented equipment for the day. Do you understand? He can't sell your individual property, which is what he did when he pawned it. Do you understand?
Yes.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,466.29. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Higgs versus Culpepper. Step forward, please.
20-year-old college student Jennifer Higgs is suing former roommate, 18-year-old student Chantel Culpepper, for destroying her personal property. Chantal denies the charges.
Ms. Higgs, you and the defendant had been college roommates. Is that right? There were 3 girls in your suite?
No, there were 4.
According to your complaint, you had the defendant and at least one of the other gals moved out of the suite because you believed that one or both of them were involved in stealing some of your property.
Yes.
That's not what the lawsuit is about. The lawsuit is about some property of yours that was later vandalized.
Yes.
And you believe that the defendant was responsible for that. And there were 4 girls in the room.
Well, it was more like an apartment with 3 bedrooms. I had a single bedroom with myself. Chantal shared a room with Jasmine, and then there was another roommate named Michelle, who had her own room.
Now, there came a time when you found some of your items missing, and then later found your ATM card missing. And when you subsequently went to check, there was some $1,400 missing.
Yes.
Now, what made you think that the defendant and or this other young lady were involved in taking your credit card?
Because that occurred during February of this year. In January, our other roommate, Michelle, had moved out. So basically, it was myself, Chantal, and Jasmine who were in the apartment.
And you made a report of that?
Yes.
To whom?
To the campus police.
What happened as a result of that?
The bank took a while to get back to the detective, and they only keep the video for about a month. And by the time the bank got back to the detective, the tape was already erased.
Well, since there was really no proof that they had taken your credit card, tell me on what authority you believe they were in fact evicted from the apartment.
Well, basically we weren't getting along. Other things became stolen. Shower products were being used. My food was constantly being eaten.
Okay. So they left. Now, what kind of damage was done to your things in the apartment?
The new handle was broken off of my bedroom door. It had been locked when I left. All the wires to the electrical things in my room were cut, like my TV, my PlayStation, my clock radio. Yes, it was actually cut.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jennifer Higgs says former college roommate Chantal Culpepper vandalized her property by cutting the cords to her electronic equipment.
When had the girls been evicted from the apartment?
Earlier that day, Chantal was helping Jasmine move her things out, but Chantal's stuff was still in the apartment when they left.
Was the front door to the apartment, was that locked when you came home?
Yes.
Other than the key that you had and that Chantal had and that Jasmine had, did anyone else have a key to your apartment other than management?
No.
You have any documentation for me, photographs or anything
Yes,
else?
I do have
I'd like to
photographs
see, please.
of the actual night. And I also have police reports.
See the photographs first. Okay, Ms. Culpepper, now I'll hear you.
All right. First of all, we was friends. We was cool. We threw a birthday party, you know, went out, hung out, everything. We didn't find out about the credit card until housing told us that Jennifer had been going about writing down reports and everything, and we thinking that we was cool, you know what I'm saying? We were just friends.
Let's get to the day that her property came up vandalized.
We wasn't under the impression that her property was vandalized because we had moved. Jasmine had helped me move out later on that night because we was already being kicked out of the apartment due to her saying that we was wasn't getting along.
Are you living together, the two of you?
No.
You still friends?
Yes.
Have you remained friends?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. One of the two of you cut the wires in her room.
No, we did not.
Yes, you did. Oh, yes, you did. You were angry.
About what?
About what? About being evicted from the apartment. 3 keys.
My wire was cut
3
too.
keys. I don't believe that she cut the wires on her own property and broke down her door. The police report indicates that the front door to the apartment, which was opened with a key, was not damaged. The only door lock that was damaged was the door to her room. The only people that were angry about the situation, as you've just described, you thought everything was cool, everything was wonderful, and all of a sudden you're evicted, were the two of you. The problem is, she doesn't know which one of you did it, or which one of your boyfriends did it, or whoever was helping you move did it. She doesn't know that. But it's clear to me that one of the two of you know who did it. No question in my mind, madam.
Okay. But like I
Good.
said, we was moving out that night. Nothing was wrong with the apartment when we left.
So you mean somebody else just went in there?
No, she has the window onto the balcony. Anybody could have broke in there. She could have came in there.
Let me tell you why nobody
We don't
did
know.
that except the two of you. Because if they came in to steal something, they would have come in and taken the property. They didn't take it. All they did was vandalize it so she couldn't use it. Now that's done by somebody who doesn't like her. Do we understand each other?
No, I'm sorry, I don't.
Well then, what year in college are you?
I'm a freshman, going on to my
Well, maybe
sophomore.
you'll understand when you're a junior. What made you choose this defendant as opposed to suing both of them?
Because with the front door, it actually records whose key was used.
Oh, and what time they used it?
Yes, I have a report from school, and it shows the times that she entered it. She entered 5 times while I was gone that night.
So that's why you chose her?
Yeah.
Are you user 1 or 2?
I don't know. They never gave me a copy of that. They said that was only for the plaintiff. They never gave me no information on
Well,
nothing.
let me give you this. You
I
are
was
user.
moving that
You
night.
are user 2.
I was moving that night along with Jasmine helping me, so I had to come in and out the door. We are not allowed to keep the door open. So yes, I did use my key. When I came home, my wire was cut off my TV.
Did you make a report of that?
Yes, I did.
When?
May 12th.
The first report that you made that you had vandalized property was May 12th? This happened April 12th.
Okay.
So after they said her room was vandalized, you said my property was vandalized too?
Yeah, that's the whole reason
What
why
I'm
I
saying
moved.
to you is before you knew that her property was vandalized, when you first saw your TV wire cut, did you immediately call housing and say somebody's
No, I did
vandalized
not.
my... Of course not. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $370. That's all.
And now the next case.
Parties on Walker versus Demby. Step forward, please.
24-year-old certified nursing assistant Latoya Walker is suing the mother of her husband's daughter, caregiver Teresa Demby, for kicking in her screen door. Teresa says she didn't do it.
Miss Walker, it is your claim that the defendant kicked in your screen door. You wanted to pay for the damage.
Yes.
Defendant says it wasn't me. You probably did it yourself. How do you know her?
My husband has a baby by her.
Your husband. This is the husband. How long have you been married?
Maybe a couple months. We got married in March.
How old is the baby?
She's 3 now. She just had a birthday.
Who does the child live with?
Her mother.
She always lived with her mother?
No. She just got her on the 24th of May.
Prior to the 24th of May, who was she living with?
Me and him.
How long had she been living with the two of you?
Since she was 7 months.
So you were in court over a custody case?
They were.
They were. And ultimately, your daughter came to live with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Father have visitation rights with the child?
No, not by the courts or anything. It's just that if he calls sometime, which he doesn't really, to see
So
her.
he doesn't have a visitation order?
No.
When did this door incident take place?
On April 24th of this year.
At that time, you were involved in the court case, is that right?
I had put in a motion then. A motion was put in.
So the answer is yes,
Yes.
you were involved in court. And the child was living with you?
Yes.
So tell me what happened.
So she called that morning and she asked me, was Shaniqua there? I told her no. So she found out I was lying because the baby was there.
Why did you lie to her?
Because she hasn't been coming to get her for her weekends, and I just felt that I didn't want her to, I don't think that she should have seen her. We always get her ready to go with her mom. She'll never show up when she's supposed to. When she do show up, she's late. She bring her back late.
So you lied to her and told her that the
Yeah, I
baby
told
was...
her that the baby was at her grandfather's house, her great-grandfather's house.
What happened next?
So she figured out that I was lying because I guess she went to the great-grandfather's house and she called me and she asked me did I have a problem with her. And I said no, but I got a problem the way you treat Shaniqua. And she said, what you mean you got a problem the way? She was like, wait a minute, I'll be right over.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Latoya Walker says her husband's ex-girlfriend, Teresa Demby, kicked in her screen door. Teresa says Latoya lied about the whereabouts of her child.
Go ahead.
So she came over, we exchanged words, you know.
Where was she and where were you when you exchanged words?
At my door, because my screen door don't have the part where you could talk through. It's just like the glass up top. So I had to open it a little bit just to even to talk to her.
So?
Then she started calling my husband names, a liar, and, you know, calling him names, assaulting him and all this stuff. So I said, well, the conversation is closed. I'm not going to let you talk to my husband like that, you know.
Where was he?
He was at the doctor's that day.
So he wasn't home?
No, he wasn't home.
So she was just bad-mouthing your husband to you? Okay, next.
So then I said, well, I don't want to talk to you because at the time my baby woke up and everything. So I just said, I don't want to talk to you no more. I'm shutting my screen door. Shut my screen door. And she slammed it. She said, I'll shut your screen door because she was holding it, you know, talking. And then she was like, matter of fact, I'm going to kick your screen door. So she started kicking it, and I started laughing. And I said, and I got on the phone and I called 911. And she said, call your husband, call your husband. She think I was calling him. I was really calling the cops.
Did they come? Did
Yes.
they arrive? You have a report?
Yes, I do.
Can I see it, please? So she kicked the door?
Yes.
And then she left?
Yeah, she left when she, you know, realized I was talking to the cops because I was looking at her tag number.
Anything happened as a result of this complaint?
Well, I had filed another complaint, but apparently I was at the wrong court because their judgment was that we needed mediation to deal with the baby.
Okay, I'm not talking about the baby. I'm talking about this
So it was a-
vandalism complaint. Okay, do you have pictures of the door?
Yes.
And do you have an estimate for the damage?
Yeah.
Okay, now I'll hear you.
All right, how you doing? First of all, I seen Mr. Walker, my daughter's father, that day, and he said that Shaniqua was home to give her a phone call. So I gave Shaniqua a phone call, and she answered the phone. I said, can I speak to Shaniqua? She said, Shaniqua's not here. Shaniqua's at her grandfather's home. So I goes to the grandfather home. Shaniqua wasn't there. So I called her from the grandfather home, and I asked her, I said, why? I said, do you have a problem with me? And she said, no, I have a problem with the way you treat your daughter. And I said, what do you mean? So we exchanged words on the phone, but I never went out to her home. So then the next time I really seen these people was when I went there with the police to get my daughter after the custody hearing that he did not show up at. It's all basically over. She doesn't like my daughter. My daughter's only 2 years old. She was abusing my child, and I wasn't going to let my child stay there and be abused. So this is what this is all over. A 2-year-old girl that he has a baby by me first and not her. So she made it her business to go out and have a baby. Fine, fine and dandy. So, you know, you mistreating my child. Every time I turn around, you
Listen
miss.
to me.
Yes?
Listen to me.
I don't know anything about the screen door.
The police report was made on the same day as this incident, on the 24th. On the 24th, the child was still living with them.
Mm-hmm.
Common sense would indicate to me that you were pretty angry when you went over to the grandfather's house and found that your child wasn't there.
100%.
Right. And then what you expect me to believe is that you didn't go over to the house to confront her about lying to you. That's what you want me to believe.
Well, basically, you're going to believe what you want to believe. But
No,
what
I'm just asking.
saying,
I'm asking you.
I went back to my home where I live at in Clementon, which we was already in municipal court for this case. When she came to municipal court, she had no pictures of the door. That's why the judge threw it out.
Listen to me. It's not what I'm saying to you.
Okay, what are you saying?
You want me to believe that after she gave you the runaround and said that Shaniqua is not at her house, the grandfather's house, first she lied to you, then she sent you on a wild goose chase to go and find your daughter where the daughter wasn't visiting. You want me to believe that you just merely accepted that and went home.
I just want you to believe the truth. That's what happened.
I don't believe you.
Okay.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $324, which is the...
अस्सलाम वालेकुम। आज हम आपको YouTube चैनल के बारे में बताएंगे कैसे बनाया जाता है चैनल और कैसे चलाया जाता है। अच्छा भाई, पहले हम गूगल पर जाएंगे, सर्चिंग करेंगे YouTube चैनल के बारे में, पता करेंगे कैसे बनाया जाता है। सही भाई, सही, अच्छी बात है यार। पहले सॉन्ग सुन रहे हैं यार। वाह भाई वाह। सॉन्ग नहीं चलाऊंगा, अच्छा कोई बात नहीं। सॉन्ग नहीं चलाते, कोई ड्रामा देखते हैं। YouTube चैनल में पैसे कमाने के लिए एक अच्छा और महंगा अंदाजा है। और भाई ठीक, एक बार मजे हमारे सुकून है। और सुनाओ जी। ईरान वजीर खजाना की चेहरा में काई हो गई। ये तो आती ना, इसको पोस्ट करके उर्दू में सब कुछ पढ़। ठीक ठीक। हादसे में खवातीन, 2 बच्चे समात 4 अफराद खत्म हो गए। वजीर आबादी, कौमी असम्बली इसराइल को शिकस्त, ईरान में जीत का जश्न।